time for a little Funky Friday. From their funky hidden headquarters, your hosts, Keith and Gerry. Not Gerry.
Hey,
Hello.
welcome to TGIF, the party that never ends except it ends in 2 hours. I am your temporary host, John, and today we will be interviewing Gerry.
Interviewing? I thought we were grilling him.
Well, your interviews, my
You
interrogation, you know.
Well-
yeah, while we wait for Keith, we're going to be talking about Vindicated Inc. Why don't you go ahead and play the trailer, Martine?
Oh, yes.
Make sure to play the non-copyright one.
I don't know. Brace yourself.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
No, that's a pretty epic trailer you got there, Gerry.
I think it's really good. Our good friend Shinatsky made that. Did a fantastic job.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to do more because as we start delving into the new chapters, we're going to get more artwork. I've already drawn pages now, and they got included into that, some of the new artwork. So I'm looking forward to seeing more. And my goal was to have Dale Dye do the narration, but he wasn't available because of family stuff.
Yeah.
So Tom was so wonderful to step in and do that. So I love Tom.
Yeah.
I love Tom. Just stepped right in there. I didn't even get a chance to ask him, and he just did it. Hey, it's Keith.
That's Keith.
Apparently. He hasn't spoken. So he may not be Keith.
It's a pseudo Keith.
Yeah. Schrodinger Keith. Until he talks.
So, as I said, Scott's the devil. I was
Yeah.
telling him before the show because Scott comes in tempting me. St. George's Donuts. I'm like, is it cake donuts this time? Not the glazed ones. They're cake donuts. And I went, oh. And then he opens it, and I'm like, those are glazed, and they smell so amazing. He goes, okay, yeah, well, And I said, those will fucking kill me. Oh no, they smell so good. And I'm like, eat around the sugar. I'm like, you don't eat around the sugar.
Can't eat around a glazed donut sugar.
So
it is covered with sugar.
So I took my insulin and I'm like, God damn it. And I grabbed the bag and I'm like, I'm going to hell. Thanks, Scott.
Wow.
And St. George's Donuts are amazing. That's all I got to say. Anybody who's been to Springfield and had a chance to have donuts there, they're like heaven. Good luck finding a Bavarian cream by 8:00 in the morning. It'll never happen. They're gone. They're sold out. So Keith is here. I heard him.
Yes.
How we doing?
Now I can wake up from my diabetic coma. What's your excuse?
Called work, Gerry.
Oh, you fucking using that on me. It's like using a Star of David on a vampire.
I got nothing. I got nothing to say.
You got nothing.
I got nothing. It's just, it was a long night at work. So.
Oh man, I know you work those awful hours. So, but anyway, I'm here and I'm the guest, and you guys are interviewing me.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, let's just talk about to get started. Let's talk about comics and really, what was the first comic that you really enjoyed? Seriously, I mean, what blew your mind?
My grandpa was an avid comic reader, and I think all of us kids were amazed to find out, because whenever we'd visit my grandmother and grandfather in Illinois, this is my paternal grandparents, there were always comics. And my first comic was the Superman story where they showed the miniature world that Brainiac had created to capture life forms and put them under a big bubble of glass. And this was done back in the 50s, as I recall.
Yeah.
And I just loved that comic as a kid. And then one day, the Man Bet story was at my grandpa's house, and I read that one. And that was an early one, but the first one I read was Superman. And grandpa, because he was a kid when he went off to war. He was underage. He lied about his age to serve in World War I. And I loved comics all the way up until 1986. And it's gotten me some weird looks at conventions when I'm a comic artist and I go, I don't like comic books anymore. I don't like them. I love the way they look, but I like my story in one sitting. I want the whole story in one sitting. And so I gave up on comic books in 86, thanks to the Secret Wars. I got so pissed off at the marketing behind that I quit DC and Marvel, not just Marvel, but both.
Wow.
And then Jim Woodward, and you've met Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Jim told me about graphic novels, and I'm like, what is that? And went out with him to the bookstore, and I got 2 graphic novels from that year, Watchmen, and the first one was Dark Knight Returns, but I got them both at the same time. They'd already been out, and I'd never heard of them because I wasn't that guy. I didn't, I didn't read Wizard back then or any of the periodicals that talked about the latest comics. I wasn't that baptized into it. My memory of reading comic books was with Jim Woodward, and we'd go to the local 7-Eleven. They'd have one of those carousels, the spinner cards.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd grab comics, what we wanted to read, buy it, and then go outside, sit on the curb drinking either one of their Slurpees or their slushy drink. I forget what it was called at 7-Eleven. And sit there on the curb right outside the store reading comic books. You are going to drive me insane.
Yes, because I went to do this.
Who I'm talking to?
You're in the spotlight.
My face. I want to look at you guys, but okay. So anyway, that's just how we read comic books. And Jim was my comic book buddy. He's who I read comic books with.
Enabler.
And, I don't know if I would have read comic books if not for Jim. As I said, I loved him as a little kid. It took my buddy Jim to really put me there, and I owe him a lot. He's one of those pshaw guys. It's like, you owe me nothing. I'm like, nah, really. In many ways, I do. And when I dreamt of being a comic book artist, guess who I wanted to write all my comic books? Jim Woodward.
Yeah.
And that was my dream in high school. We were going to do Moon Knight back in high school. I remember when Moon Knight came out, and I'm like, oh, we're going to write Moon Knight stories. Oh my God. I'll draw them. You write them.
So Moon Knight is your big go-to. That was the one that you really wanted to do. Yeah.
In high school, I fucking loved that one. When I was married, later, I got involved with 2 comics that really intrigued me. One, I was really into Spider-Man in the early 80s, back in
Mhm.
82 through 84. But I really loved a single comic. I can't remember what it was to this day, but I just remember that there was a comic where Superman, it was discovered that Superman can't fight supernatural powers. And there was a witch
Oh man.
messing with him. And this was in the 80s. And I'm like, oh my God, he has no strength against magic. I thought that was fucking cool. They
Yeah, that is
found a
cool.
way to make him weak.
Yeah.
You know, he has a weakness to magic, anything supernatural. I love that. But in 86, like I said, I had a tantrum over Secret Wars. And you know what pissed me off wasn't the story. I mean, the story wasn't even all that great, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
What was great about that is what we got from it with Iron Man and Spider-Man with the Black Symbiote.
Yeah.
Past
Yeah,
that, I thought it was story,
yeah.
but they wanted to sell mass market, and so they started doing alternate covers. And oh, you need to read this lesser read comic if you want to get the rest of the story. It was just a quick brush against the story. It wasn't
Yeah, it was marketing.
it wasn't important to the story. And so I went and I bought some comic books I didn't want to read, that I wasn't interested in, just so I get the rest of the story. Because anybody who knows me personally knows one of my greatest weaknesses due to my OCD is I'm a completionist. And it's problematic. And I felt so used by Marvel that it cost me my passion for all comics. Got rid of them. But graphic novels took over.
Yeah.
And I still love those comic stories. I just want the entire story arc in one sitting.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait 30 days.
So basically, you're
half
just
the text.
you are way ahead of your time in being built for the way comics are today.
The way they should have always been. I got to be honest with you. And another thing that's interesting about that is we start. I would buy trade paperbacks too, because they're not the same thing as a graphic novel.
Mhm.
Technically, Watchmen is not really a graphic novel. It's a trade paperback because it was originally released in comic book form, each chapter. And I considered doing that with Vindicated because I did print and publish one chapter. But I decided against it because I want it to be a graphic novel.
Yeah. What did you?
Although, if people wanted to buy it individual chapter, I probably would make it available to them that way. But it ended up costing them more, so it's like, what's the point?
Well, as you said, you're a completionist, and you want other people to be able to have the entire story. But
then again, I'm guilty of the same thing, Keith, because with with my own Vindicated, it's only part of the greater story. 155 pages, and I'm just barely touching what's going on. Because you don't really find out what's going on until the second graphic novel, because I'm leaving it kind of a mystery on purpose.
Yeah.
I like that ongoing mystery of what is going on here. And and I want the readers to go, are these people also responsible for his injuries? Is that what's going on here? I don't want to answer.
Well, you're building a world. You're laying down the foundation for being able to get the rest of the story out there, which is cool.
And it is connected directly to 2 other stories of mine. I wrote St. Thomas in the 80s, and one of the main characters in St. Thomas is Frank Tedesco, who's the cop in Vindicated. But this is back when he was younger, when he was still with the FBI. St. Thomas takes place like 25 years ago. And he was just a young cop or a young agent. and he leaves the agency to go to work for Phoenix Police Department as a detective, and that takes place in my story David Two Trees, which is a story about two American Indian cops. One is half white, and both are half white, actually. One is a res cop, though. He embraces his Native American heritage, while the other worked for the FBI and is now a cop. And they're at odds with each other in the story, but by the end of the film, they become partners, and they depend on one another to stay alive when they discover the evil that they're up against in the story. And David Two Trees is the res cop's nickname, or the name he was given by his tribal leader, because as a boy, he defended his pregnant mother and sister against an attack of wolves on their upside down car during a blizzard.
Wow.
And all he had, he was 10 years old, and all he had was a tire iron. And he fought him off.
Wow.
But I like stories like that, based in reality. I don't believe, I was never interested in superheroes.
Yeah.
As an artist or storyteller.
Yeah.
Before the next question, I would say it's time for us to acknowledge our beloved audience. Keith, if you
Yes. Well, first of all, let me just say a fine hello and good afternoon to everybody in the chat. I think we have
hello, everybody.
We've got LDG, Free the Net, new member.
LDG's here.
Yeah.
Well, LDG's popped in now and again. Thank you for becoming a member. That's really sweet.
Yeah. LDG,
Thank you.
Free the Net, donated 20 subs this morning during my show.
Wow.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, dude. That is so nice.
We got to have something for LDG. We've got to have something for LDG. He's got to get a video.
Are you suggesting that I should offer the back door?
I'm not suggesting anything.
I don't know, because some of your suggestions are pretty gay, Keith. We've been friends a long time. I can say that.
Well, to LDG, we have this. Thank you.
You're reading a magazine. You come across a full-page nude photo of a girl.
Is this testing whether I'm a replicant or a lesbian, Mr. Deckard?
This is so weird. All the music is gone. I can hear the talking and stuff, like with the trailer.
What?
No music.
What
Getting out of the music. It's really weird. It's really weird, dude.
Yeah, I heard it just fine.
Yeah.
I know. It's just something on my end. It's something that's happening. You got to go through some more?
Yeah.
Tim is here.
First of all, a big hello to Mr. Fat Steven.
Hello.
Oh, Steven popped in. Hi, buddy.
Hello.
And big hello to Andy. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just calling him gay. That's all. Back to you.
A big hello to Andy Morrow. And, of course, FKHC 2005. Oh, wait a minute. Wow.
Ooh. I just saw a question about why She Leaky. Really good question.
Well, let me get down to that question then.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's in the starred comments.
Yeah.
In fact, it's at the top of the starred comments. Because that's something I touched on this morning when I was hanging out with John and Martin for the morning show.
Yeah. He says, thought of this classic. Hello, Mata. Hello, Fada.
Hello,
I am
Mata.
smoking
Hello, Fada.
marijuana.
I am at Camp Granada.
Coke is good, but crack is better. I'm so effed up, I can barely write this letter. Ha. Thank you very much. And our Muslim uncle is here.
Hey, assalamu alaikum. I always do Pauly Shore do it saying that. I don't know why.
I've noticed that. Let's see.
Zach,
Oh,
I see Zach said something too. He's wanting to know if my used Kleenex is a perk for Vindicated.
Yes.
That's a Gerry question.
I think we should all be. I think we need to include and add some clothing. What do you guys think? With some art on it.
Ooh.
Do hats.
John is really the guy in charge of this, so I'm going to be bugging John to help me plan some of these things.
Well,
John,
if you're
I'm telling you, you've been invaluable. Both, all of you guys have been so helpful in getting this going.
If you want to do a tier system, you should incentivize and make like a limited edition hoodies at a certain tier, T-shirts at a certain
Like
tier.
the hoodie you're wearing in your cartoon avatar.
Pretty much, but if you want to incentivize, that's the best way to do it. You can limit edition a shirt, like shirts and merch, like hoodies. Let's say maybe 10 or 15, and that gets your tier a little closer. And that you want a low number in the double digits.
I'll talk to you after the show because I'd like to ask you like what amount should you go for with that? Because right now on my other screen I have open Threadbird, which is a company that works for doing tiers, clothing and stuff. And I'm wondering if that's effective or if there's somebody else. So we can talk more about it after the show.
Like one of your tiers should be able to draw someone in the book.
That is there. $200. You get a signed copy of the printed book, and you're become
No, it's
a member. I
$2,500.
feel like we should throw a ball cap or something in there too for that one.
$2,500 is the you're in the book.
That's the top tier. And
I'm on
that's
that one.
everything
Yeah.
plus you're in the comic book.
So if we go back,
crazy.
so we go back the last 2 years since I've been on Pop Culture Minefield, and I just added up as my fake paycheck. That covers me, right? So you can just throw me in there already.
Yeah, we pay you with love.
Yeah, I want a refund.
We can fake throw you in the book, Stephen.
Did you get one cover or two, John? I'm just wondering where they put the funny side.
Let's see. The rest of
He
the
gets
chat.
too silent after Steven says something.
No.
So that says either he's too mean or nobody knows where to go because it's so awkward.
No, it's not Sedasky. That's Fat Steven Bush. By the way, we have a Bush has a request. He wants for you to read something. He wants you to read this.
Oh snap! Gerry knows about comic book stores. I bet he got special treatment. Got let in the back door.
But up.
Bush with the gayest comment today. Good on you, man.
Hold on,
Love you,
right there is a brilliant idea. What you can do is a special thanks in the back of the book, and it's called the back door, and then you put the names who have actually subscribed to that tier. That way, you got the chuck going on.
And call it the back door.
Yeah, the back door, because it's going to be
Thanks,
the back of the book. Yeah.
Also, I got to tell you, Script Doctor wants me to start calling shows that I'm on the geriatric show.
We can do a Where's Waldo book, and we can call it Where's Gary's Dick.
No, please.
No.
I would say check
my
your mouth.
response to Script Doctor, what he said, that was "fuck you." I love you, but fuck you. But he goes, no, seriously, think about it. But you don't say geriatric, you say geriatric.
Gay?
And I went,
Wow.
all right, okay.
Wow. Let's see. Hello to Anima, who is the official girlfriend of the show to Mr. Gerry, our guest today.
So he has an official girlfriend?
He's our guest. Are we really going that low in the barrel right now? What is going on?
Oh, jeez.
It's pretty bad when I'm all that's left.
Hey, you're above Bob Iger because Bob Iger has hurt feelings right now, so you're okay. Congratulations on
Yeah,
the
yeah. Well, we don't have a hippopotamus for him to pet. Let's see. Lauren Worth. Hello to Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
And let's see. Penny is here. Hello, Penny. Wow. And then
Zax has been a member for 25 months.
wow. Thank you very much, Zax.
And Anima has been a member for 16 months, which is also our anniversary.
Congratulations.
Let's see.
W. Leaky with a
Bush
question.
McFadden. oh, hold on. I want to get Bush in there too. Get rid of the green ones here. And Bush McFadden became a new YouTube member today. But I thought he was a member before.
Yeah, every time it
That's
renews.
right. That's right. Every time you do it, it starts you anew. Yeah, that's weird. I wish they wouldn't do that.
See, W. Leaky's question: how come it took you, Gerry, 10 years for this comic to come to fruition?
It's funny because I did talk about that this morning, but I will give you a more truncated version of it, which was I was in the middle of raising Zoe. Okay, and this is something that like I've even had to tell Anima. When you're a creative person and you're trying to be entrepreneurial in how you're doing it, being the creator of a project, you got to stay on top of things, and it requires a great deal of focus and a great deal of positive thinking.
Yeah,
you have to be very proactive. And I had come up with this idea, and I got a few of my actor friends from Hollywood to be involved. They all signed likenesses agreement. I have them all in my hard drive. These likeness agreements that allow me to use these actors from Hollywood that have been in movies and TV shows. And I was so stoked about doing this, and I got started on it. We did the campaign, and the campaign was successful. But in the early days of these crowdfunding campaigns, we ran into a problem, which was the first batch that got paid from that were the writers. All the writers got paid to do their jobs, to write the script for me based off of the story, which had a lot of dialogue already written because I knew exactly where it needed to go, how it needed to get there. But I got these writers involved, and God love them, man. As much as I love writers, there's a video on YouTube of me ranting about writers, my problem with writers, because I've had comic books sent to me that they wanted me to do graphic novels. I'll just say graphic novels. And if you know how you're writing a comic book script, there's one page for every comic page. It's just like a movie script. One page of script for every minute of screen time. Okay, that's the equivalent. So if you have a 120-page script, it's a 120-minute movie, right, Keith? You know this. It's a rule.
Yes.
And I would get scripts from writers, and I would get angry when they would send me, it's going to be a 124-page graphic novel, and then sent me 250-page script.
Oh.
And I remember not even reading the script. I pulled it out of the envelope. I flipped to see how many pages it looks. I'm like, this is fucking heavy. And I got to that 250 page, and I put it back in the envelope, sealed it, resealed it with, put new label and stamps on it, and sent it back to the writer. I said, get that down to 124 pages, and I'll be ready to work, because I'm not going to try to figure out what you want from me. Mm-hmm. Your job is to give me exactly what I need to draw it, not make me figure it out. And
wow.
And people that don't understand that, and what I said in that rant, I'm just going to truncate that too, was you're not writing for the audience. You're writing for the comic artist.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you're writing for. That is your main first audience, is your artist. Mm-hmm. The artist is your director. I'm the guy that's directing your movie. And you need to respect the creative person a lot. Because when you start making their work, like I said early on, I would never work with Alan Moore. That guy's a prick to his artists. He is so disrespectful to his artists. You've seen what he said to Dave Gibbons.
Mm-hmm.
What a fucking douche nozzle. Like, he really created something. Everything he wrote was based on other people's work. Alan Moore. He just was very clever in how he did it. But he's weird as fuck too. Fuck that guy. But you get some serious writers out there that understand that. And as much as shit as a lot of people give Stan Lee, he's the one who processed the script that basically just told the artist what to do. There was no dialogue. We'll put that in later. And I'm like, it's really important for us to know, though, where to leave room for word bubbles. I think that's
Yeah.
important. So
Yeah.
I want the dialogue there. I don't care what the dialogue says, but I want to look at see how many words it is, so I know how much room to leave on the page. And again, that writer that I got mad at and sent his script back to him, he asked me about this one page, and I said, I'm going to tell you, you have a single panel here with close to 200 words in it. There's no room for art in that frame.
Again,
No room.
it's comics. You know, if you want to be that wordy, I mean,
He was a novelist. He was an
Yeah.
author. That was the problem. And finally, I went to the Steve McQueen School of Writing, which you know what that is, right, Keith? From Bullet.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him 2 pages of dialogue where he's dealing with what's his name from Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Robert Vaughn.
Oh my God, Robert Vaughn. Robert Vaughn has that one line, and then Steve McQueen's character is supposed to return and rebuttal what he said. And Steve McQueen's like, I am not saying all of that. And he sat there and he kept reading it, and he realized what the crux of the statement was. And he threw the script out and he walked over. Robert Vaughn says his line, and then he says, hey, you police your side of the street your way. I'll police mine my way. And that was it. That was 2 pages of dialogue cut down. And it's sort of the same thing with Roy Batty, with his great speech. And he went back into his dressing room and came out with that speech. And it's beautiful. It's one of the most memorable things in film history is Roy Batty's death monologue.
Mm-hmm.
But you get these writers, and I didn't want to be that kind of writer. Even if it was a book I was going to draw, I tried to make things simple in my scripts. Even when I work with other artists, Richard Bonk likes working with me because I write for an artist. I write the way an artist will easily understand and interpret what I'm saying. I give time of day, what they're wearing, and I don't give their mood. I explain the expression. He has an angry expression. He has a shocked expression. Artists don't give two fuck what a character's feeling. What he wants to know is, what am I drawing? Yeah, like Tears and Rain. It's great stuff.
Yeah, but that's the way it should be. I mean, the thing about comics, especially comics today, one of the things that I think a lot of people seem to feel that these comics today have missed is that balance between story and art and understanding how
these, Martin.
And what? How
the questions like that, star them so they show up in the thing. I want to look at them in advance. I'm sorry, Keith.
Well, that's all right. It's where, both story and art have to be really purposeful towards telling a story. It's just as important to be able to tell a story visually as it is through dialogue. And that one of the things that Marvel really understood from the beginning, and this is where I give Jack Kirby a lot of credit, is his ability to be able to tell a story visually, but to also bring a vibrance to it, to bring movement, to give it
exactly.
a kind of...
This is an argument I got into with some writer friends. They said, you can't have a comic book without writers. I said, yeah, you can. Do you think cavemen needed a writer to tell them to put on a cave wall? No. Artists that are good visual storytellers can tell visual stories without a script. I could sit down and easily draw 22 pages without a script in front of me, telling a visual story. Otherwise, I wouldn't be worth my weight in fig Newtons. Mm-hmm. And but I do want to go back, because I didn't finish, Keith. I want to go back.
Yeah.
Because I didn't exactly, I was building up to explaining the 10 years. And really the whole 10 years thing was, I was working with people. I was liking what was going on. And I thought nothing could ever go wrong with this policy of how I did things. And I got hired for 2 different books. And technically there were a total of 6 graphic novels and a comic that I worked on. And I don't want to do monthlies. I don't want that. I don't like that kind of deadline. It's too stressful. I like the bigger book. because a graphic novel can take me up to 2 years to draw. And we lost Fat Steven.
Yeah.
Hope he's coming back.
Oh, yeah.
And basically,
It's
you
like a
got
bad penny.
You two and your fighting. So it just I like the length of time it takes to do a graphic novel. The deadline is a little more fluid. It's less got to be done by. Although I've had those too, where they go, we need to have this done by Christmas or some shit like that. So I'll look at it and I'll go, realistically, I'm like, it'll be stressful, but yeah, we can get that done. And of course, according to IDW, this is Chris Ryle and Ted Adams. I broke a record when I drew my award-winning book, Woodward Geronimo. We got the Military Writers Association first ever graphic novel inclusion into that award, and for Woodward Geronimo. And I'm very proud of that, and I'm proud of the fact that we did get awarded the Bronze Star for the book.
Wow.
And a lot of work went into that book. And I drew that entire thing in a very short period. I was basically drawing 3 pages a day to get it done. You do the math, 72 pages, 3 pages a day.
Yeah.
I was literally fixing colors. That's because they hired a Spanish company to do the colors on it. And I hated what they did. Everything looked flat and dead.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into certain pages that I thought were important and made them pop by adding effects to how they were lit and shit like that. So, but
choosing,
I'm still getting to the 10-year thing, Keith. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
So I get to working with these 2 specific companies. I'm not going to say their name or the name of the books. And one was a New York lawyer. He was an asshole. And he tried to bully me, and it didn't work because I don't fucking care. And I told him at one point, don't fuck with people who are going to touch your food, and don't fuck with artists, because we'll fuck with you right back. And I did. I fucked with him because I found out that he had lied to me on my payments. And because he said, we're trying to get investors. I said, well, until you get investors, this is my amount per page. I said, but the minute you get a backer, I want my actual fee. And when I found out, and I drew that entire fucking book for him. It was a long book. It's a history book. And he lied and got backers to line his own pockets.
Wow.
And what I did was very clever because he forgot that every single bit of artwork was in a folder on Dropbox that he had access to. His name, his email was attached to that folder, meaning he could open it at any time. But I refused to send it to him. But he had access. He says, I will fucking sue you into. I said, then do it. I will hand it over to a judge before I hand it over to you. But he had access to it the whole time. Wow. And he went and he spent thousands of dollars on Google ads to say nasty shit about me. And I'm like, you're not going to hurt me. I have return clients, regular clients. They like me. You don't like me. And I will never work with you again because you're not like them. You've tried to fuck me over. And I had legal advice to walk away from him. And I did. And he paid for those ads. A few of our mutual friends in Springfield were like, well, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. And I'm like, that's your decision. I don't care. You know, that shows how the depth of your friendship with me, that you're going to take that guy's, you've never met that guy and not my, statements on the subject. And I have proof of mine. And then I worked a few years later, and I don't think that really got to me. I think that I was okay. I was mad more than anything. I was mad about what he did. But then I ended up working with this former Marine that he had brain trauma. And Richard Bonk was the artist on this. I was the writer inker and was going to be colorist, but I ended up being letterer, and we hired another person to do the colors. And the guy was paying. This wasn't like crowdfunded. He was the financer for this project. We got half the book done, and day to day with him was really getting stressful because I didn't know what version of him I was going to talk to each day or each phone call.
Wow.
Because his brain trauma involved problems because he had brain trauma on top of PTSD, and he would get whack out crazy, and it led to almost a physical confrontation when it involved my daughter when we went to Hollywood to the premiere of Black Rifle Company's movie in Hollywood. We went to the Academy Awards to see this premiere.
Yeah,
and a lot of people there. That's where I met what's his name that played John on Chips. He was there for the premiere.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, it was nice. It was really nice. But when we got back to the hotel, he said something to my daughter. And I turned and looked to him. I said, "Hey, man, you're talking to an underage girl, not to mention my daughter." And I thought things were going to happen between us. But his best friend, stood up, and he's a black guy from Boston. He's like, he asked him in that Boston accent, like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And took him outside, and they were gone for hours. I don't know what happened. But we went to bed that night. We didn't talk again. I didn't talk to him the next day, and we just left. I'm like, that was fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I was afraid I was going to have to kill him because you don't do that with my kid,
Yeah.
you know? And but anyway, get back home, and he's like back to normal, like nothing happened. And then I get another phone call, and this was the last phone call. And we've got this book sitting there, half done. Artwork is beautiful by Richard Bonk. The inking is going on, and plus I'm writing another screenplay for him, a spec one. And he said, just include the pay from this to be included in that screenplay. I went, okay, whatever, man, as long as you're happy. And so I wrote 2 scripts and was doing inks and colors, and he went nuts on me. And he just absolutely like, you're trying to steal money from me. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he went to PayPal, who had done this through, and took all the money back. Now, I paid Richard through that.
Mm-hmm.
So he got paid for half the book. All that money got taken back from me. So I was left in a negative balance. Not only did he take the money he paid me, he took the money back he paid Richard and the colorists too. They still got paid. I didn't. And that had a devastating impact on me.
Oh, of course.
And everything was falling apart. I couldn't seem to salvage it, and I just sort of kind of went away.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go away. I just sort of up here went away. I just was like, I'm letting this shit go because it's going to destroy me. It's going to fucking destroy me if I dwell on this shit. And so I focused on the work I had to do to stay alive and pay for bills because I was raising Zoe with no child support. I was responsible for paying for everything.
Yeah.
And it was hard. When I was down there in Arizona, man, rent down there was insane. It's like 3 times what it is here in Missouri. And that's why I came back, because I couldn't afford it anymore. I couldn't afford it. I wasn't getting the kind of work I needed. And I took an oath that I wasn't going to work with people I didn't know anymore. I have to know you before I'll work with you on any lengthy project. If it's a long project, I need to sit down and talk to you, and I need to know that, like, one of the things that needs to be done, all that pay needs to go into escrow before I will. You can still get screwed, don't get me wrong, but it's just like working on a film. That money needs to go into escrow before I'll start work. I want to know the money's really going to be there, because I don't ever want to be fucked like that again. And people don't want to pay artists what they deserve. I deserve $350 a page in comic art. You get these people, I'll pay you $50 and you'll get famous from the publicity from it. I'm already famous, dipshit. There's a Wikipedia page about me.
Wow.
What are you going to do that's better than that? I work for IDW. You know, fuck you. I'm a G.I. Joe cover artist. Fuck you.
And that's another big thing. Another major feather in your cap.
That was the 10 years, by the way. That was the 10 years. And I started to slowly come back in 2019. And you saw a little bit of that, I'm sure, that I started feeling more like myself again, but not quite. I wasn't ready to work on those projects. And I tried to find ways to start, but I couldn't get it going. And I'm like, I didn't want to put the energy into it. I didn't want to. You get burned and you're afraid to touch things that are hot. Right? And that's what was going on with me. Yeah. And then this year, the end of the 10 years happened this year with, I'm working on a project with somebody that you guys all know. He's in our group. And I'm working with other people in this group. And I like that because these are people I know. I like working with friends. But money went dry because of the screenwriters thing. And I have agreements. And so I didn't want to take on new work. I just said, they'll end this soon. They'll end this soon. It'll be over. Months later, I haven't been making any money. I'm not bringing home any pay. The only thing I've earned money on are my book covers. And I hit a point where that's it for the year. Not going to get any more. So we've got Christmas approaching and I don't have any money. I have zero freaking money. And I'm like, I gotta do something. And all of a sudden, that helped ignite a fire in my belly. And it got me passionate. And the minute I found the passion again, that 10 years was over. Thank you, Hojo. He's a fellow veteran, a good friend. And that's the 10 years right there. In the last 20, 30 days, the fire returned to my belly and that passion was back and I wanted to do this again and start something. And it took a decade out of my life to get here. And but now I'm a different person. I'm cautious in who I trust and who I work with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a completely different Gerry than I was 10 years ago.
Wow. As long as I've known you, you've had a lot of really interesting stories to tell. You are definitely someone who's got a lot of different stories and a lot of different avenues in order to present those stories. Do you find yourself at any time trying to, fight the urge to take some of those, say, film ideas and turn them into comics and vice versa?
Well, that's what they are, because Vindicated really was the reason I went to Kurt Yeager from Sons of Anarchy was because I wanted him to play the character in a film. I wanted to do a live action version. And it's still an option because he is still legally my partner. He and my old Scottish buddy are still my partners. And so if we option to do anything, they're right in there. Kurt Yeager has, what do they call that? First right of refusal. If it's something he wants to do or not, wow. as one of my partners. They don't share in the money. But if we option to do a film, they're directly involved. And that's my buddy Paul and of course, actor Kurt Yeager. And Kurt Yeager is the guy in the book on the cover. That's Kurt Yeager's face right here.
Wow.
And by the way, this artwork was drawn by me in pencil form, but the inks are by Drew Moss from IDW, good friend of mine.
Oh. Looks great. Looks great. Here's another thing. This comic, in my mind, kind of continues a tradition that a lot of mainstream comic book fans may not be as familiar with, which is combining comics and military. There's a lot of military people that were a part of comics in the beginning. and you are continuing that by telling original stories. Do you have any other things that have that you've come up with since you started back? Have you had any new ideas?
Well, I had one that was always there's one of the books is called Sleepers. There's artwork already drawn for it, but I'm going to redraw.
What up, bitches?
Hey, Paulie.
And it is Paulie, the Latino slant. Hello, my friend.
Man, I want to know what you thought of Godzilla before we say another fucking word. I gotta know.
I can't wait to see it again. It is something like that.
Tom was the same way.
It was like watching a film as if I was a kid again, and I was terrified. I was amazed. I was entertained. Dude. I mean, this is even better than that because as an adult, I was like, fuck, the human story is so amazing. So what up, bitches?
Dude. I really
I'm going to see it in a few hours.
Because I've been a Godzilla fan since I was a little boy, and back in the 60s, I just fucking loved Godzilla. And it does that thing to you, Paulie. It's just like a good Star Wars film. It brings out that little boy in you.
Yep.
It lets him out again.
Yeah, but it's like, I think so. Yeah, that's one thing. To me, this is probably, I can't imagine being a kid watching this for the first time because it's like us when we were watching Star Wars for the first time. It's that fucking good. And it works on different levels. I mean, I'm just like, I was just sitting there watching it. We had the IMAX, we had the nerds. We were all fucking nerding out because it's it's our movie group every Thursday, but it was a Wednesday. So yeah, man, God, I can't wait to see it again, bro.
God,
that's fantastic.
Me too. I can hardly wait to see it. It's funny, like Martine's like, no spoilers, and I'm like, you do know that it's called -1 for a reason. It takes place before the original film by a day.
So brilliant.
Wow. I don't know what happened that day.
You've never seen the original Godzilla?
Yes, but I haven't seen what happened the day before.
Shut up.
Dude, they are releasing here in December 28th.
That really does suck for you, dude. Because
it's
opening this weekend, and it's just, I'm so stoked about it, dude.
Yeah, I heard that. Like different areas, like it's not open yet.
Wow.
Well, too bad for you. I don't feel bad. Fuck y'all. This is me crying for Martine and all the other Mexicans in Mexico.
Before you guys ask any further questions of me, I do want to know, how is your campaign going and how's things moving forward?
Man, it's such a trip because it's technically done, but there's spaces for like 8 more books, but we ordered everything. We paid for everything. We ended up like over $500 over the goal.
Wow.
And so what I was able to do is I went ahead and added more pages to the book. So even this book that I was showing off, this is now going to be, a little collector's item because the new one's going to have bonus. And all you guys are going to get bookmarkers. Look at these little babies.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So, it's going great. We just put in because of that, we're like 10 days behind. I mean, my goal was to get everything mailed out, but before Christmas, but that's not going to happen. But it'll be like a few days after. So, dude, I'm excited. And then we're doing a whole thelatinoslant.com merchandise, books, YouTube channel, and then we're going to start adding editorial. So I'm fucking around. What up?
Fantastic, dude. I'm so proud of you, man. And people who know me know, not in a way.
I'm going to stop you.
I'm
going to stop you. I'm going to stop you because maybe going on in the future, we can get some of your sketches for some of my works because you did some prelim. You did some prelim where I had cut because I wanted you had done a prelim sketch of the Hot Five, the jazz band, and then like
I dropped
some
off
shadow
because I
figures
had to
in
move.
the alleys, and I was like, oh
I
man,
know.
this is so fucking good.
And I
then you
also
fell
didn't
off.
have the screen. I fell off because I had to move again.
Yeah.
But again,
life.
this all goes back to the fire. The fire destroyed my studio and it destroyed my computer. And I found out that drawing is more difficult to do now. Finding a space to do it, and I there's no space where I'm at. Like right in this room, there's no room for it. But Shinatsky went out and bought me a fucking tablet, and I'll show it to you real quick. That is
Thank you, Anima.
22-inch tablet Shinatsky bought me. I didn't ask him for it. He just went out and did
22
that.
inches. That's it.
That's all she could take.
Hi-oh.
Wow. But it is one of the best tablets I've ever had. It's better than the one I had before. And
who makes that one?
Huion, or Hue. It's a weird spell. It's Huin, I think. Huion, something like that.
Wow.
And it is really fucking good. And it's worth every dime. I'm impressed with the way I'm able to draw on it again. So I'm drawing again. I was drawing on paper, but the problem is I can only go so far because I don't ink on paper. I have to be able to ink digitally. And so, yeah, it's going to be happening now. But I'm also doing a thing here where we're going to be doing a series of books through Pop Culture Minefield. And this is the first one we're going to be doing. I've got the team working with me on this to help with it. And then when we're done with this book, setting it up, we're going to start a campaign for the next book, and then the next book, and then the next book, and keep doing that. We've got my Vindicated was always intended to be a trilogy, a three story arc graphic novel series. They're long though. And people are going to like this because I took the original script and I've added 2 whole new chapters to it. And one of them is kind of disconnected. It's its own little story that takes place. And then there's one chapter that's a flashback. And that's the one that my buddy Marvel and DC comic artist Richard Bonk is drawing. I'm drawing everything else. He's going to draw this one because as a flashback, I felt that it doesn't need to follow my style of drawing, which is very realistic. He went to comic artist school. He went to the Joe Kubert School of Comics.
Wow.
And it's a real college. And it teaches you how to draw, bring out your comic abilities, learn how to do brush technique, how to sketch correctly, how to draw the comic book format. It teaches you everything, and you can graduate from that. And those guys go on great careers. Graham Nolan went there. My buddy Graham Nolan from Batman. He studied under Joe Kubert. Well, he's still alive. Now his sons run it, and they're great artists too. But I didn't. I'm an illustrator. I'm not a comic book artist. I'm an illustrator. And I draw a very specific way. It's very realistic. I don't follow the rules of comic books in my way of drawing. But in the process, I think one of the nicest things ever said about my work as a visual storyteller was by director Josh Becker. I worked with him on film, and he read one of my graphic novels, and he didn't like the writing because it was from a military perspective, and he wasn't into that. But he said, I read that whole book. I was engrossed in how you draw, and you, sir, are clearly a film director. You understand how to set up a scene and how to block it out as well as any director I've ever worked with. He says, and so I find it hard to give you direction on things because of that. I know that I can give you something and you just go do it, which is how it is. That's the same thing I do with Dale Dye with all of his books. And when I storyboarded his movie, Tom Hanks, Gary Sinise were my bosses, and I did that whole movie. Storyboarded a 110-page script about the battle that was in country on D-Day with the 82nd Airborne. True story. It was an emotional experience, but I drew the entire film, plus I did production art for it, and nobody directed me. They told me what they wanted, and I went and I did it. And that's why Dale swears by me to this day. He gives me the simplest of information, says, this is what I want, and I go do it. He's only had to correct me now officially. This year is the third time. So he's had to correct me 3 times in our 20-year professional relationship. And I always know when he's going to correct me because he doesn't call me Gerry. He calls me son.
And then I call you son of a bitch.
He's calling me son. I did something wrong. Now, son,
son of a bitch.
I love the way he talks, though. There's just nobody that talks like Dale Dye. And the new trailer, if you haven't seen it yet, can you play it real quick again? Because we're at the top of the hour, Martin.
Oh, yes. Let me get to it. And here we go.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated, Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated, Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
Yeah, I had to make that safe for YouTube because on Rumble, I'm using like songs that I listen to while I'm writing. And you can't use them on YouTube because they'll gank you for it. But Rumble don't give a shit. It's the Old West over there on Rumble. But what'd you think of that, Paulie?
I loved it, man. I really loved it.
This is
I mean, you know, I'm not an expert in style or anything. It looked cool.
It's done realistically. That is my style. I draw realistically. If I draw a person, I draw them how they exactly look. There's no superhero poses. I have one cover sketch that people like where he is just fast roped down into a bunch of mercenaries. And it's drawn very realistically. And he's kicking one guy in the face and shooting another guy as he's falling into this bunch of guys to catch him off guard. And I like covers that have nothing to do with anything in the story.
Oh, really?
This cover. Yeah. This cover, there's no scene where he's surrounded by fire anywhere in the book. I just wanted that image of him because I felt it was a metaphor for what he was dealing with. It's a good metaphor. Being surrounded by fire. But again, you know, because Polly wasn't here for it, you know, that at the end of that 10 years, Keith, I should mention, when you suffer from PTSD and depression, you think you know what you're feeling. I always think I'm aware of everything I'm feeling. And I know something's wrong, but I don't always know what is wrong and what to do about it. I just keep going because I'm one of those people, you know me, I just keep going. And things in my life kept going south. And I kept thinking, what am I doing wrong that's happening? And so then I began to attack myself, you know. And but at the end of that 10 years, you know, I'm sitting there a few weeks back and I started to really come out of it. And you don't know, it's seeing the forest for the trees. when you've got a mixture of PTSD and I do have the PTSD, not PTS. The kidnapping of my daughter gave me that wonderful big D.
And we all know Gerry likes the big D.
I like the big D, man. And but when you're coming out of it, then you look back and go, holy shit, was I a fucking wreck? And it's the same thing I went through with my, my last big bout. Yelling at my sister, Luann, got me out of it. Getting angry is it's really a useful tool. Getting angry. That's why I tell people, people who say anger management, they don't really teach you how to manage anger. Sometimes it's okay to get angry. It's okay to be angry. It's a useful emotion. It's a motivator. The problem is some people who overuse it.
Well, I got a caveat with that. It's
well, yeah, there's always a caveat. Go ahead.
I mean, you can't stay in anger. You can't operate from anger.
That's the problem. Exactly, Paulie.
Because you operate from anger. I mean, you just get so resentful.
You don't want to be an angry person just walking around angry all the time. Yeah, it's negative.
Really bad. However, but if it can motivate you to affect some positive change, you still got to check your. I always check my ego and my motives. I mean, it's a daily fucking thing. It's a daily practice because we're like what am I over 8 years?
Humor is good for you.
I'm over 8 years now, drug and alcohol free. Right. So
proud of you for that too, buddy.
It's a lot of work, man. Because naturally, I want to be a dick.
Wow.
So, I'm just saying, like, so yeah, you just got to check yourself as far as, and if it's a very chronic problem for men and women, then seek help. That's what I say, because if it's something that you can't do with, like, let's say you find a higher power, let's say you find, you're doing everything you can and it's still not working, get some help. It's there.
Yeah. And by the way, to put it back into perspective with what I'm doing with the story, with this character, John Russell, the thing that, and you see the comments made by Mike Barron and Chuck Dixon there, blown away what I did in the comic book, because I talk about PTSD. I've got a lot of friends from combat that suffer from it. And we treat it as an important part of the story because he uses it. So many guys, this is why I don't like Hollywood's misunderstanding what PTSD is. They treat it as you're dysfunctional, you're broken somehow, and it's like, no, that's not what it is. And this is my problem with people who've never served in the military and dealt with combat situations. Talking about it's sort of like a virgin talking about sex. It's like you really shouldn't be writing about these subjects because you don't know anything about it, what you're talking about, and you'll see veterans time and time again get angry about how Hollywood represents them in film and TV. But, thankfully, we have seen an insurgence again of veterans in acting and in writing and talking about these subjects. And it's important in Vindicated that I make it clear. And there's a scene in there where Bill, who's loosely based on my own grandfather, who suffered from severe PTSD. His body, he shook all the way until the day he died from combat. And he got buried alive too. And they thought he was dead. And he shook, but he was a leather cutter. And he would get a knife in his hand. He would whittle, carve fruit, or cut leather. His hands would stop shaking the minute he focused. And so I got this character that does the same thing. And they're playing basketball, and the main character is in a wheelchair at this point. He doesn't have his prosthetic leg yet. And they're playing basketball, and it's horse, I think is what they're playing. It's a game I used to love to play as a kid. And after they're done, Bill looks over at him, and his hands already started shaking, and he grips a towel. He forces his hand to grip the towel. He looks over at John, who's just all calm, laughing, and toweling off from the sweat, and he says, "How do you do it, man? How do you keep it at bay like you do?" He says, "You've seen as much combat as me, and yet I never see anything get to you." And John's response, and every veteran, combat veteran, laughed when they read this, and including Don Ecker, by the way, guys. Don laughed when he read that line. He says, "I never let it take hold. I just keep creating all new bad memories every day." It's true, though. It's what he does. Every day he goes out and he does combat shit, and it keeps the demons at bay. But one day he's going to have to deal with it, and that's left to you to interpret that in the line, is that there's going to come a time he's going to have to face this shit. And hopefully he'll go at it with a proactive attitude. We also deal with amputations, because one of the proudest things I ever got to work with was the VA. And I got to work in the VA up in Seattle. I love Seattle. And that's why Seattle is the place that the story takes place, because I worked there I was there as a soldier, and I was there as a paramedic. And I love that town. It's a beautiful town. And a lot of beautiful people there too. And but there is a criminal element that was, when I was there in the 90s, it was already creeping in. I got caught in the middle of a shootout.
I was gonna say, you look like you're one of the criminals. So what's going on?
You're
caught in a shootout. I can't say I've never been part of a fucking shootout, bro.
Oh, I've been shot at. I know what it's like to be shot at.
Yeah.
We got called, and we always stage, like when you go to a shooting, it's not like the movies. They'll show them right on the call, or TV. They'll show them right on the call. Paramedics and emergency stage 2 blocks away. It's usually 2 blocks. And the police, once they give you an all clear, then you move forward. We're not allowed on the scene until we get an all clear. And I remember one night my partner pissed her pants when we got shot at. This guy went down the street. He had just shot his estranged woman and her father. They survived. And then he walked down the street. The cops chasing him. Anything with lights on it. Boom, boom, boom. And I knew the sound. When a round hit the side of our vehicle, I grabbed my partner by the side of her head and pulled her out of her seat into the floorboard. And then when I went to get up, I was covered in pee. She'd pissed on me. She was so scared. And I just, getting shot at's just something that happens to you sometimes in life. And we went into the ER with this guy that we had been staged. He was a gang member of a specific gang. I don't want to say the name of it. And we
the Apple Dumpling Gang, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the Apple Dumpling Gang. It was Don Knotts' cohort.
Apple Dumpling Gang.
We had to transport him to Harborview Hospital in Seattle.
And don't mess with those hick gangs, bro. Those hick gangs.
There's something there, boy. I'll tell you, boy.
Boy, man. You better look out.
So we're in the middle of the ER. Cops are there, and both gangs show up. And in the middle of the ER, a shootout happens. I dropped down and went into a duck walk, and I grabbed my partner by the back.
Yeah,
I was close to the exit. I said, "Fuck our equipment, let's go." And we duck walked the fuck out of there, got into the rig and drove off. I'm like, because I stayed cool. I stayed calm under pressure, and it's the thing that kept me going, because people are like, well, when you're depressed for a decade, how are you able? I said, I can keep going. That's the thing about the way God made me, man. I'm weird. I can just keep going. I can be fucked up in the head and still keep going and doing things. And I've been fucked up in the head for 10 years because of some of the shit that was done. And I got boned so badly that it nearly destroyed me. I had a girlfriend and a filmmaker that robbed me of $30,000 in 4 months and cost me my job. I got fired over it. And I still managed to get past that. I'm like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I just won't give up. But even with all that tenacity, it took me 10 years to get the fire back in my belly to want to do my books. I talk about it all the time, but I just didn't have the fire.
No, I get it,
6
man.
months without a paycheck.
I get it.
6 months without a paycheck. I went 6 months, no pay.
Yeah.
And
I understand.
I'm like, this script, you got to go, John?
Yeah. I'm going to see Godzilla, so I'll see you guys later.
All right, let me know what you think, buddy.
Hey.
I will.
I too got a roll, brother.
Hey, is there anything you wanted to ask me about, Ollie?
No, man. I will. How long is this campaign going on for?
It's 60 days. It's
good.
$9,300. That's $3,500 for Richard Bonk because he's getting paid the proper page rate. I cannot ask for. He'll go, oh man, just pay me. I'm like, no, you're going to get paid a proper rate because as an artist, I refuse to do that to my friends. So he's going to get paid $3,500 for 22 pages of comic art.
Wow.
He's telling the hardest story I ever wrote, which is how did this fight between one of the villains and John begin? And it began because John, it just fucked him up. This is why he's haunted. He has a ghost. It's not really a ghost. It's in his head. It's part of the PTSD manifesting in his life. The ghost of a little boy. And I explain why he's haunted by this little boy. And it's rough.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, no, I mean, so, okay, we got 60 days, so we'll have you on the slant, and I will, the slant, it will donate as well on our payday coming up, okay?
You don't have to do that, buddy. Just having me on is such a gift. I love you, man.
Well, if I can I just pay then, and then I won't have to have you on the fucking show? How about that?
Fuck you, Paulie.
Hey, look, we got a black man on the channel.
That's right. And by the way,
brown
Steven suggested something.
White Latino down there.
Fat Steven suggested something that involves you. That in the back of the book, there's going to be a special thank you to all the contributors, and it's called The Back Door Thanks Page.
The back door.
That's all because of you.
Oh, buddy. All right, I'm going to go.
All right, I love you, Paulie. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Bye, Paulie.
Have a great weekend.
Bye, Paulie.
What's up, black man? I'm going to Comic-Con.
This is not much, lightly brown man.
I'm on 2 panels on LA Comic-Con.
I know. I'm looking forward to seeing what transpires. That is a murderer's row of just talent and guests.
I will never go back to those things, man. Good luck at that. San Diego, I got invited there for Cudward Geronimo, and I will never go back again.
Well, listen,
there's too many fucking people.
I'm gonna have interviews, and we'll be putting stuff up, some shorts. So stick around.
Share links with me, and I'll make sure to show them on our channel.
Love you guys. Have a great weekend.
Love you too, Paulie. Take care of yourself, buddy.
Later, chat. Peace.
So I don't know. Do you think I've explained enough? What should I talk about the story? What do you want me to talk about with the story?
Well, let's talk. First, let's talk about some of the other things that went into that inspired you with this story.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yes,
because there are this coming Saturday. Is it this Saturday? We're doing
yes, tomorrow.
Battleship. Is it Battleship this weekend?
Yes, tomorrow.
Battleship is Battlefield. Peter Berg directed that film. Peter Berg loves the military, loves soldiers.
Heck
I've
yeah.
never seen a Hollywood filmmaker so passionate about soldiers. And he has this one guy, Colonel Gregory. Oh, what's his last name? Hold on a second. Give me a sec. I'll get the file. See if I can do this real quick. There it is. Let's see if it'll let me load it. Will it let me load it? Please let me load this image. Please, please, please. This guy. Oh, you motherfucker. It won't let me add the image. So the guy's name is Colonel Gregory Gadsden. And he is a double combat veteran amputee. He has both legs gone. And he does his own stunts in this movie.
Wow.
And I was so blown away by that. When I first wrote the first story, full outline of the story, John was a double amputee, the main character. And when I met Kurt Yeager, because he read what I wrote and saw some of the artwork, he called me. He goes, I love this, what you're doing. But then I said, but you've only got one amputation. I didn't say that at first. What I said was, how method are you?
Wow.
And it lasted about that long. There was this dead silence. And he went, I'm not losing the second leg, Gerry. I went, okay, just wanted to go there and make sure. He'll tell you, you asked Kurt Yeager. I said that to him. And yeah, I want to leave alone. Hi, Brian. So early on, that guy was an inspiration. That's why I want to do that show this weekend. So if I'm going to talk about movies that inspired me, that guy inspired me. Because it changed my story from a double what changed it from a double amputee was Kurt, but it was a double amputee at first because of Colonel Gadsden. Because that dude's brave as shit.
Yeah.
And gutsy as hell. Great speaker. I'd love to interview him. I've tried to find contact information for him. It's impossible. I've yet to find any contact info for him. And I've been thinking about going through some of my military channels like Dale and stuff like that to see if they can find it for me, because I want to get him on the show so I can talk to him, because he was a huge inspiration for Vindicated Inc. Because I wanted to tell the story of an amputee fucking fighting crime. And Kurt Yeager showed me one time. He was drunk when it happened. We were all drunk. We're out in Hollywood drinking all night. Seriously, we drank for like 8 hours. It was like, I don't think we had a dry moment that night. And we're at a TV studio about to go on that network. I forget the name of it now. They sold and became another network. But they were going to interview the three of us on this show. And we were drunk on TV, national TV. And you can tell by some of our humor, it was getting a little kind of gay. Shane Morse whispers right towards the camera, not this way, blocking the camera. He whispers right into the camera, Gerry's a selfish lover. Live on TV. I love Shane. And that was one of the toughest things for me, because I love Shane as a writer, and he was one of the writers that got hired on this. And I wanted to get writers in there that knew what they were doing. The problem was the writers kept trying to change everything, and he kept creating new characters. Shane didn't do that, but what Shane did, he'd never written like this before. And it was a challenge for him. And I knew it was probably going to be problematic for him, but I didn't care, because I loved giving him work. I paid him. And he wrote a comic that'll never see the light of day. It has, I said 15 pages this morning. It was actually closer to 8 pages of talking head. It was one scene, 8 pages of them in a bar talking. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that. The script was useless to me. But I liked some of the things they talked about. So I took those and I kept that. But I wrote it the way it needed to be written. Things need to be done quickly in a comic book. And this is an action comic book. By every means, as much of a thriller as it is, as much of a drama as it is dealing with human drama. Don't make a mistake. He kills people in this book, and I show it. Nothing is done off camera. Well, one scene is off camera because I thought it was kind of dirty. Because the scene with Gerry, the gang member, he throws a knife at him and sticks him in the subclavian artery. And he goes, "Oh, Gerry, not your day." Says, you're going to bleed out in like 6 minutes, be unconscious in 6 minutes, and dead in 20. Unless, throws up a finger, I do this. And he reaches and he pulls the knife out and the blood just sprays. I do that. Now you'll be unconscious in 3 minutes. Unless you give me the information I need, and then I'll stop the bleeding. And so he gets the information he wants from him. We don't show it. We just allude to it. That's going to happen. And the next time you see John, he's getting into the van with Bill. And he just kind of lets you know it's not too direct that he let him die. Gerry got what he deserved. Because he's a scumbag child R word.
Yeah.
Scumbag. Yeah. And he never intended to let him go. My now favorite part of the show, was it say? Talk to the audience. Oh God, this is always death. Hey, do we have any starred comments right now that I need to get to?
Like 14 of them.
Yeah, let's get to them. Bush says, I think, what does he say? I think Bush should be on After Party stream. Yeah, I agree. I got to go hang out with Anima. We're going to hang out today. Let's get to Brian. Naturally, I made my pledge through the back door. Well, there is going to be a backdoor page. It's going to be called the Backdoor Thank You in the book. It will be in there. That was Steven's idea, and I think it's brilliant. Hey, buddy, good luck with the campaign. I have pledged for a physical copy. Outstanding, brother. You didn't have to, but I love you for it. Lady V says he likes the big D. That's why I call Mark on Toxic Tuesday. I call him Mark C with the big D. 2 names I've changed on that show is Mark and my good friend Clobbery. Everybody calls him Clobby. I call him Clobbery. And he calls me Gerry. He's the first person to do it. Call me Gerry. And that's our nicknames for each other. I will be on Clobby's channel. All my friends that do comic shows, I'm going to be joining them. Loki, I'm going to be joining him next Wednesday in the morning. So that'll be fun. I love those guys. Start calling him Dad. What does that mean, Shinatsky? I don't know what that means.
Oh, because when Dale calls you son.
Son. Oh, well, he treats Zoe like he's her grandpa. He and Julia love Zoe so much. God, I love them. They are family to me. They really are. I couldn't imagine not working for them. She Leaky says, awesome stuff, man. Makes me want to finish all my unfinished projects I've started. I've been writing bars recently. Good. I'm assuming he means music, bars of music. You gotta, it's like Stallone says, I got a little bit of fire in the basement, although that sounds more like a shit issue. Problems taking shits. Polly, when you go see these movies, do you walk in the front door? I love that he's the one who started this shit with the whole back door with me. God, Polly. I couldn't imagine my life without you guys in it. Yeah. Polly, when you this isn't important anymore because Polly's gone. Let's see. Hello, all. Congrats, Gerry, for creating your own comic. I admire you for that. Congrats. Thanks, Socks. I appreciate it. By the way, thank you for the kind words. I think I sent Socks the first chapter to look at. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he had to say. And Zax has been a member for 25 months. Look at that. Let's see. It fell off the truck and Gerry sneaked into the restaurant through the back door. Boy, Bush is really wanting those backdoor videos today. It just did it again, Martin. It popped up and closed as soon as it opened. Couldn't read anything on it. That's weird. Congrats on the launch, Gerry. Book looks great. Thank you, man. I like doing multiple covers. Lauren says, I am finally awake to watch this show. I'm glad you're here, Lauren. I haven't seen you in a while. Keith, John, hi, guys. Happy December. Hope everyone is well, despite Hasbro's Power Rangers Tommy Oliver Master Morpher being sold out. Oh, man. Tim says, Gerry, nice, the 29th Infantry Division pin. That's right. That was the first unit I was attached to. First, the 170th Infantry at Fort Belvoir. Fort Belvoir. Because we had two forts near us. We had AP Hill and Fort Belvoir. It was Fort Belvoir is where I was at. But I left them pretty quickly and ended up with the 308th Med Ambulance out of California, attached to the 6th Army out of Washington. I think you care more than you say, Gerry. We've talked. You're anal perfectionist. I knew you couldn't talk serious subject with me, Bush, you motherfucker. You want perfection, not an insult, but an observation. Oh, I get it now. You mean anal as in anal retentive. It's not like an anal perfection. I like my anal sex perfect. That's what it sounded like you were saying. Okay. I'm anal retentive. No, it's true. I am. I threw away 44 pages of artwork. Threw it away. Deleted it. It's gone. Never to be seen by anybody ever again. Because it wasn't what I wanted. People go, why don't you save your pencil sketches? I just throw them away when I'm done with them, scan them, put them in the computer. Because I don't value what I do past the storytelling. All I care about is the storytelling, the final product. I don't give two shits about the work. I'm funny like that. I'm weird like that. But it's true. And if it's not exactly what I want, I won't release it. But I do understand that there's no such thing as a completed film, only an abandoned one. Because if a filmmaker is allowed, they will keep editing and changing and working and adding to it. Proof of that, Ridley Scott.
Or George Lucas.
Boy, I get so irritated with George, though, because some of his ideas to add stuff on were really not good ideas. Hey, Gerry, will your new comic book series you created be ongoing? It's not going to be a comic series. It's going to be a graphic novel series. So there's going to be a few years between finishing them. It'll probably be about a year, actually. If I have a team working with me, it'll probably take a full year to finish each book. The writing process is always the fastest. It's the drawing process that takes forever. And let's see. Gerry avoids all my comments today. No, I didn't. I saw them. But this isn't my show today. I'm the guest. I'm reading it, looking for questions. Are the sample pages complete and colored? This is interesting right here because a creative decision was made on this book. We colored some of the pages, and it doesn't feel right to me. This story is so black and white in how I tell it that it looks best in black and white because color is distracting. And I can't use the colored pages because it just doesn't look right. I like the starkness of it. And I kind of treat the story as a very black and white story.
Mm-hmm.
What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. I'm not one of those gray people. There are gray areas. I understand that. Just like Polly said about, anger. I understand that there are gray areas with everything. But they're not everywhere. And they're not in everything. And I'm sick of people that say that. It's like, no. There comes a point where you're culpable for what you fucking did.
Yep.
People, and I look at my life, and you look at some of the life-altering and sometimes life and death decisions I've been forced to make in the medical field, and I feel awful over some of the decisions I've made, but I stick by them. because I knew that when I made the decision at the time, it was the right decision. I have a judge and jury in my head all the time. And I find it interesting that my personality type, because I always thought there was something wrong with me for years. I really did. I was terrified of it. Like, what's wrong with me? Why am I so different from everybody around me? Why do I feel I get around other nerds and I still feel isolated from them? I don't feel like I connect to them. And I took a test back in 2000, and it was the 16 different personality types test by Myers-Briggs, which is actually originally the Carl Jung personality test, 16 personality types. And they all made just slight alterations to it, and it's extremely fucking accurate. Don't read horoscopes. They're full of shit. Go read your personality test, and it changed my life, because I started reading exactly why I'm weird. Why am I so different from everybody? And when I found out that I am an INFJ personality type, it explained everything, because the INFJ personality type only makes up 2% of all human beings. It is the most different and isolated personality type.
Mm-hmm.
And we're INFJs are weird people, because we want to connect. We want to connect with people, and we rarely ever do. And I crave it, but yet it just doesn't happen that much for me. And when it does happen, it's such a special thing for me, that it matters to me. That's why Keith will tell you, I love my friends. I am so passionate about my friends. But then I will go out of my way not to see them or visit them or talk to them, because I'm focused and doing things. Yep. But at the same time, like Jim Woodward and I, because Jim's a very similar, different, but similar personality type. He and I can go for lengthy times of periods of time not talking. And then we start talking like we never were apart. And we love each other. Jim loves me. I love him. And we're very passionate about our friendship. And you should be. And friendships are just one of the most important things in my life. But I learned in this life that I'm the one that's got to get me through things. Friendship's not going to get me through. What friendship does, it gets me past things. You're going to get you through things. Friends will get you past it. And that's what friendship's good for. Let's see. I have to leave chat, but I will be listening. Enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks, Steve. Man, good to see you, buddy. Again, going back to this one, no colored pages for this book, just the color covers. The interior artwork is going to be black and white. I may go in and shade it a little bit, but I don't know, because I don't want anything distracting from the story. And it's so clear in the way it's drawn. And even Anna, when she read it, she says, "You should not color this. This is how the story should be told in black and white." No, I agree. So there you go, Washi. I hope that answered your question. I hope it doesn't upset you that it's not colored. I have to leave. Yes, I got that one already. Sounds like imposter syndrome. Oh man, dude, imposter syndrome. Every artist suffers from it. Every creative type suffers from it. I've never met a creative who doesn't feel. In fact, I was talking to Mags one day. She suffers from it. Our friend Mags. Nobody's talking to me. Okay.
Well, I remember Mags.
Okay. Mags, and I talked about it heavily one day. It's just, it's okay to feel that way. We all feel like frauds. I got hired by IDW, not as an artist. I got hired by them to do animated trailers and score music for them and do voiceovers for their, make animated trailers for their comic titles. That's what they hired me. And I felt like a phony. I'm a film school dropout. I got what I needed from them. I'm like, I don't need a degree from you. You're not going to really help me get work. knowing how to do shit's going to get me work. Beard. Any other questions?
No questions. Oh well,
Oh
yeah.
my
This is a question.
I am okay. Here's what it is. Zoe, my daughter, is actually more Irish than me. But technically, what I am is 88 point something Celtic, which means Welsh, Irish, Scottish. But it's pretty much all the same bloodline, really, genetic stuff. Irish, Welsh, and the Irish joke is a Scotsman just like an Irishman that never learned to swim. And Scotland has the same joke going back at him. An Irishman is just a Scotsman that never learned to swim. And the Welsh, my only problem with the Welsh is, and I love the Welsh. They're wonderful people, but they're paranoid people. Not that they don't have a reason to be. They're very paranoid. I got proof of that when I was over there. I walked into a pub in Wells. I can't remember where I was at. I was with my dad. And we walked in, and there was these men speaking at the bar to each other in English. And when they heard my dad and I speak with an American accent, they began to speak Welsh Gaelic. Immediately.
Wow.
And that bugged me. I'm like I fucking care what you're saying, even though I would like to hear it. I love their accent. But I will say, too, my dad said I've always been brazen. I've always stood in the face of bullies. And I'm in the middle of an English pub. And they've got Johnny Weissmuller on TV watching Tarzan. It's morning. And we're having a traditional English breakfast with overcooked eggs and fried potatoes and thick-ass bacon. And as we're eating it, I can hear these men at the bar complaining about an American playing an English lord. And I got irritated by this because I'm a big Johnny Weissmuller fan at that time as a kid. I love Tarzan, one of my favorite characters. And Wales is not a real place. I like that one. And I started singing very quietly. In 1814, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. And I just gradually got louder. And I hit a point where everybody in the bar, the piano player, stopped playing kind of moment.
Wow.
Dead silence. And they all were looking at me. And I ran through the briars, they ran through the bushes, and they ran through the brambles. They ran through the places that a rabbit wouldn't go. Ran so fast, the hounds couldn't catch him. Down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. And I finished the song. I finished that whole song. And there was dead silence, and they didn't talk shit about Johnny Weissmuller anymore. Not while I was there, because I would have fucking started singing that song again.
Wow.
What's this? That was my nickname in high school. How do you know that? Bush, this is the first time I'm hearing about it, just wondering why someone called you a fraud. Yeah, look, dude, I hope they weren't serious. That's a fucked up thing to say to somebody. That takes some fucking gall. You know, there's nothing new under the sun, just in how you do it. Everything's going to be based on something else, inspired by something else. And there were a lot. Keith asked that a while ago, and I brought up that one movie. But there are other things in there. There's a new prologue to the book that I wrote. I don't want to give away, but there is a huge nod to the book and film. The book was called 6 Days of the Condor, and the movie is 3 Days of the Condor with Robert Redford and Faye Dunaway and Cliff Robertson. Oh, and of course, one of my favorite European actors, Max von Sydow. Yeah, I know that you were talking about Bush. I'm just telling you, fuck them. You know, there's nothing original under the sun. It's just your interpretation of it, right, Keith? That's the first thing you're told. There's no original ideas for stories, just new ways of telling it. You have to find your way of telling it.
Because I mean, when you go back to something like Star Wars when it came out in '77, I mean, it took
Look
a
at
little
everything it's
while.
based on. Flash Gordon.
That's number
everything.
one. Kurosawa, The Hidden Fortress.
The Hidden Fortress.
I mean, just everything's really just basic ideas for other people.
He was so in love with that movie, he wanted Toshiro Mifune to play Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
But because he spoke no English, he turned it down. And he didn't understand what he was doing with the science fiction aspect. But it was the English thing that prevented him because he never learned English, never wanted to.
Wow.
He did. He played Jesus in the greatest story ever told, which is still probably one of the best movies about the life of Jesus ever made. That one, and what's one with Captain Pike? I forgot the name of that movie.
Oh, geez. Jeffrey Hunter.
Jeffrey Hunter. If only we had an internet or something where we can
look stuff
that
up. Yeah.
It's called King of Kings. And that's the movie John Wayne was in. They wanted an all-star cast, so they have John Wayne play the Roman soldier that goes, he truly was the Son of God. And that's how he said it. Go watch the movie. This man truly was the Son of God. I like the movie, don't get me wrong. But Max von Sydow's Jesus was, I consider that the better film of the two.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Hunter's life was cut. A fucking infection killed him from surgery. Cane Mutiny, how many strawberries did you have? Oh, God, yeah. Cane Mutiny is, look, the best version of that film is always going to be the Humphrey Bogart film. But that movie is different than the play in the book because the play in the book is the courtroom drama. And you find out the backstory through testimony. What they did with the Bogart film is they show you what happened and make the courtroom drama the other half of the film. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was brilliant. I loved it. It worked. The new film, I still enjoy it. Friedkin did a great job of adapting the play into a live action film. Dale Dye, my boss, is in it. Also, it's the last film of, I just forgot his name, the black gentleman that died from John Wick. What is his name? Oh my God. I hate it when I have brain farts like that. It's his last film that he was in. It's his last piece of work. He was on the JAG team. He was one of the judge advocate generals.
Lance Reddick.
Reddick is great in this movie. Everybody does a stupendous job in this. And I saw some negative comments about Kiefer Sutherland as Queeg. And I'm like, he was doing great. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He did a perfect job. Still, in my opinion, I'm not a big fan of the actor who played the second officer, the XO on the ship, Van Johnson, because he was a draft dodger. He really was. He didn't want to serve in the military. While actors in Hollywood were putting their lives on line, his was more important than those guys. He was a pussy. Can't stand people like that. Think their lives are more important than other people. Mark and Keith make Gerry do John Wayne. I'll tell you what. I can't do Jimmy Stewart like I used to. But I did this joke back in junior high school. I was like 14. And I told this joke doing stand-up. I did actual stand-up. Won the Fredericksburg Gong Show with this joke. Jimmy Stewart trying to teach karate. And so he's like, now, all go through the whole stand. I used to be able to do his voice so much better. I can't do it anymore. I haven't done it in so long. And he goes, first you got to, chamber the kick and go through the whole process of how to throw a side kick. And finally he says, do you think you can do that, John? And then I did Wayne and go, well, I can do it, Pilgrim, but I don't know about the horsey. And I got a big laugh.
Wow.
Yeah. Vindicated Incorporated. Well, that was the original name. It was Vindicated Incorporated. Because we call him Vindicated, but he's never called that in the book, ever. He will never be called that in the comic. Not one of the books is he ever called that. Vindicated Inc. is the company that the three joined to build with the illicit funds that they get from robbing criminals that they kill. Because that's how they avoid a paper trail. Because Bruce Wayne was bound to be found out in Batman, Dark Knight, and all that shit.
Yeah.
You know, and the Punisher's going to get found out. They all know he's Frank Castle. And eventually he's going to get killed or caught. Same thing with Bruce Wayne. But a tier 1 operator learns how to do what they do off the map and off the grid to the point where bad guys never find them. It's so hard to find them when they're doing dirty works. I'm not talking about when they're going in for an insertion work to kill somebody. There's always a risk they might get killed. But when they're doing dirty works, those guys never get caught. And you may never know what they did. You're like, how the fuck did that happen? It's because a specialized tier 1 team went in there and did that. That place blew up. Was it an accident? What happened? Oh, no. It was specialized military teams that go about. I'm going to have to fucking turn my phone off. I turned it on so Martin could fucking call me if he needed to. And I'm going to turn my phone off now. Power off. And down. All right. So what was I saying? Oh, these special teams. And so I said, basically, you have to be able to do this and not be able to create a paper trail. You can't leave anything behind. And so what he does is he forces an arms dealer, an illegal arms dealer. He puts a gun to his head and he says, I'm your only client from this day forward. If I find out that you're selling to anybody else, I will kill you. We can talk, we can be friendly, but I will still, if I find out that you did this, I will feel betrayed and I will kill you. I am your only customer. You only sell to me. And that way, he can never get caught because of his arms that he's buying. And I don't mean physical arms, I'm talking about weapons. And so that, and any money he gets, he takes from criminals that he's killed. He takes their ill-gotten gains and uses it for funding what he's doing. And they end up buying a fake company. I'll just go ahead, because this isn't important to the overall story. They buy a airsoft type company that makes airsoft type weapons, manufacture pellet guns, and military style armor. And underneath that is the real thing, and that's how they hide it. They hide the real thing in the lower level below the actual store, Vindicated Incorporated. And that's where the name Vindicated comes from. You think that's clever, guys? I don't know.
That's very clever. But again, you're a guy that doesn't really create a lot of boring stuff. Everything's always happening. And that's the great thing about your work and how you're able to turn a lot of that into comics, you know? I gotta say,
what?
That's the other thing about you. You just use everything, dreams, life experiences. You throw that in there, and from the way that comics, mainstream comics today, seem to be, those people just don't. I mean, they don't have a lot of talent. It seems like they don't know how to draw. I mean, you are a total package person. I mean, technically, you know, you'd be a catch for any of the mainstream comic book companies. I mean, you would.
Well, they were going to hire me at one point. I can't say the guy's name, but he was in charge at the time of new talent at Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to hire me. And his cousin is a close friend of mine. I can't say her name. And she did an introduction, and he was like, oh man, we got to get you working for us. And so there's this talking going back and forth, emails, phone calls, and then all of a sudden, shut off. And I'd write, I'm like, hey, what's going on? You know, nothing. Dead silence, static. And I finally went to my friend and I said, what's going on? They stopped talking to me all of a sudden. And she got back to me a few weeks later and told me that when he had taken it to the person who was in charge, he's the guy that got fired from Marvel. When he took me and my artwork to this guy for final approval, on that list of things that were shown, it was clear I have a working relationship with Chuck Dixon. And I'm friends with Chuck Dixon. And he personally hates Chuck Dixon, the former head of Marvel Comics.
Wow.
The one that was fired. You remember when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And
hey, Keto Simple
and
the house.
He fucking said, no, we're not hiring him. So they ghosted me. They started the conversation, and then ghosted me. And it hurt. That was part of that 10-year thing.
Well, that's not the way to run a business. That's not really the way to run a business. That's
also
part
what
of the
happened
reason
in
why.
that period of time. Also, what happened in the middle of that was the shit. Because I'm just telling you, man, I had a lot of stuff going in my head that was getting to me. I was supposed to be the new G.I. Joe cover art. And Andy Schmidt hired me. But Andy Schmidt got hired to take over Hasbro's offices on the Transformers and G.I. Joe. So he was going to be leaving IDW. And they hired a new person. You know who it is. I'm not going to say his name. Wouldn't talk to me. He was told marching orders that Andy gave before he left was, this is Gerry Cassell. He's one of the new cover artists. We want you to be working with him. Refused to work with me because I'm known to be conservative and I'm a military veteran. He hates military vets. In charge of G.I. Joe. He was a card-carrying commie. He's a very known socialist. He was a socialist, which means you're a commie. All people go with socialism. I said all socialism is the welcome mat to communism, because the minute you turn to socialism, you are turning into a communist. It's inevitable. It's a law of inevitability. Every socialist government became communist. Every single one. I'm seeing a lot of comments not starred. What's going on with that?
No conversations.
So Keto is here. It's good to see you, man. So I see 4 comments. I've had to star them. So here we go. I'm kind of curious that Gerry thinks of the movie Lord of War. I enjoyed it. It's not a film I'm going to watch again. I love Nick Cage. Even when he's not good, he's still great in some way. New York classified body armor as a weapon. New York got its head up its ass. They're fucked up in that state. I'm just picturing the Scottish guy who Tim from Spaced had to apply through to get into comics, and a sketch of him left in the folder. I got to go back and watch that show. I like the show Spaced. That was a good show, but I haven't seen it in years. Look at Gerry right now and tell me he isn't Mainframe. What's Mainframe?
Mainframe is a step below a supercomputer. I don't know what he's talking about.
That's what I'm thinking.
Mainframe or mainstream?
Nope, he doubles down. Gerry would be a great Mainframe. I don't know.
Is that a character from the Transformers?
A G.I. Joe character.
Oh, G.I. Joe character. I know the main characters. In fact, the way I got the job, I drew a picture of Duke wounded and Scarlet helping him to the back of a striker. That was how I got the job as a cover artist. And Duke wounded, being helped by her, firing an M16 back at the enemy. I didn't use any of the sci-fi weapons. I drew real weapons. And there was a point where Dale Dye and I were going to do the annual, G.I. Joe annual. That was one of the things that was being talked about. You know the annual. It's a standalone story put out every year. And Dale was going to write realistic story for G.I. Joe, and I was going to draw it. That was the discussion with Chris Ryle and Ted Adams and Andy Schmidt. Never happened because they hired a socialist. And they had a bunch of socialists working there, and it destroyed IDW. And I hate that. I don't do the Schadenfreude with IDW because I have a personal relationship with them. It hurts me to see what's happened to them.
Look at the goal of this brat. Huh?
That's okay. He's a fake chef.
Oh,
Jeez.
I got to tell you, my mouth, he will post photos. My mouth will start watering just looking at what he cooked. I can just imagine the smell coming off of it. I have asked him so many times to put dry ice in a box with the food and ship it to me overnight or 2 days. It'll still get to me. And with dry ice, it'll still stay fresh. And no, fuck you. You better keep sending us photos. I love it when he takes pictures of his food. I love it.
You heard him.
No, you will keep sending that stuff because you know I love that stuff. And Bush knows I love him. He's a sweetheart of a guy. He's a little whiny sometimes, though.
I'm surprised you didn't say needy.
No. I have needy friends. I do have needy friends, and I have to keep a buffer because neediness and me don't blend well.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's like I just I'm weird. The INFJ thing, man. I was just talking with hold on, let me, because this is an interesting conversation I had over on Twitter. And she and I have talked a few times. We hung out together one time. We have a chemistry to be friends to a certain limit. We got into an argument once too. And I didn't agree with her with what she said, and she didn't agree with me. And and people might know her as Piper over on Twitter. And she's a comic creator. And she's got the crazy piercings and shit, and she's got tats, and she's cool. She colors her hair. She's very, like me, pretty conservative by most standards. Mm-hmm. Even though technically all I am is a Hubert Humphrey Democrat, which makes me conservative today. Which is why, one day I'm going to eventually convert Keith because he still has faith in things that I'm like, until they fix it, man, you need to abandon those motherfuckers because they've abandoned you.
I am committed mainly because two things. One,
you're secretly gay. There's nobody more heterosexual than Keith.
My wife will tell you I love women. I love women.
I know you do. I think we all do. We have a great love for looking at women. And it doesn't, because I told Emma, don't ever let that bother you. I ogle women all the time. I go,
according to early stories about me, I've always loved the female shape.
Yeah.
So
it's just there.
It's just, it's all the right things for just, yeah. Yeah.
But then me being who I am, because I'm always verbally ironic, saying things that don't really go together, I always tell people I'm gay for women. And somebody says, what do you mean? I said, because whenever I look at a woman, there's a person inside me that goes, oh my.
It's like, how did Robin Williams put it? You're a male lesbian. And so am I.
Just women are so awesome, man. I just, but at the same time, they terrify me. In fact, there was a love story in Vindicated, but I am pushing it towards book 2. That she's in the book 1, but I'm not, because look, he is dealing with something And for those of you who've gotten a sneak peek at chapter 1, know what happened. And he's broken. He's physically broken and he's spiritually broken. Because I just don't want to say what it is. I want you to read it because it's devastating what he went through. And the kind of thing that he went through, you don't fall in love very quickly after that. You can't just meet somebody and start have feelings. And I'm like, yeah, that just doesn't fit. I don't find that realistic. And so I made that change myself. I'm like, I can't be in there. I can't have that in there. But she is in there because she's the one that's in charge of his physical therapy, his rehab. And he begins to develop feelings for her as time goes on. She's clearly got feelings towards him very early. And that's fine. She can have all the feelings she wants to. He's not going to reciprocate because he's dealing with personal loss and of his, someone he really loved. And by the way, Dale and Julia Dye are in the book. They play his in-laws. In fact, in the trailer, the photo that's on the wall, that's Dale and Julia Dye. Go ahead and show that trailer again.
Okay.
And watch for it. When he's in the shower. When he's in the shower, the photo on the wall is Dale and Julia Dye.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated, Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated, Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
So you saw at that time that photo that's on the wall when we pull out of the bathroom, and as he's in the shower with his, without his prosthetic on, that's Dale and Julia, and they are in chapter 1. And a few of my friends are in there. In fact, one of my guests that was on Dangerous Nerds with me is he is John Russell's best friend. But I messaged last night the real John Russell because, again, you asked for an inspiration, and the inspiration is the real guy, John Russell, for the name, and for how he stands up to people. And he's a person that's been important in my life since I was a little kid. And John was older than me. He was, and it really pains me that he got upset one day with me because I listed my best friends, but he wasn't included in it. And I said, it's funny, John. I always look at you as family. I never, because you and I don't hang out and I always look at you like you're my big brother. And he always was a big brother to me throughout school. And he stood up to a bully that was fucking with me one day. I was 12 years old, and he asked, him and another dude were like making fun of me because, I was a devoutly Catholic kid. And like, when you get paid to have sex, I'm like, I'm married. I believe in the sanctity of marriage. I was a 12-year-old Catholic kid. I was an altar boy, for God's sake. They were mocking me, and John got pissed. He says, why don't you guys stop fucking with him before I kick your asses? That's the way he was. Man, John is still a wonderful guy. Him and his sister, Susan, I just love them both. And I had a thing for her in school, but I was afraid to have a thing for her because I admired and respected him so much. I would never dare flirt with his sister. But anyway, Sue and I are still friends to this day. But John, I wrote him last night and told him everything that's going on. And I said, your name is coming back up again, man. But the other version of John Russell is the Paul Newman character, Hombre. And there's a little bit of him in the story too. Because in the movie Hombre, you don't even find out his name until the end after he's dead. Like, we didn't even know his name. And the other character goes, his name was John Russell. If you paid attention, you would have known that. I just love that movie. It was my dad's favorite film. That's why. And also, of all the guys that I knew as a kid, John Russell, my actual friend, was the one that my dad liked the most. And he liked me hanging out with him because he felt, ironically, he looks a lot like Kurt Russell. He really does. It's weird. And he was an all-state, all-district athlete, just like Kurt Russell was in real life, you know. And he was just this well-rounded, very kind, gentle human being that didn't put up with shit from people. He didn't like bullies. And that's what inspired me in my life to become a bully's bully. And I would mess with bullies all the time and, you know, teach them to leave people alone. And maybe become a better person. Yeah.
Lady B has a question for you.
Look, here's the way I explained it. Because I got into a fight with one of the writers. And the writer said, because there's a line in the second book, because I wrote the story out for all 3 books. And in the second book, he's in an interrogation room and something happens and he delivers a fucking hilarious line that was just fucking funny. And everybody who read it laughed. They're like that's fucking funny. It's silly, but at the same time, it's not, because it's a serious situation. But that's how my humor has always worked. My humor comes out the more serious the situation is. And it's to calm people down and shit like that. And so this writer friend of mine that is no longer in my life, we won't talk to each other because he got really bad TDS to where he was calling me and ranting every day. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to talk about the guy. I don't care. I don't like him. So fucking what? But he just would call me. And again, this is a good friend of mine. Hey, Tom's here. We just played the trailer, Tom. Again. So he called and he was ranting again. This is back in 2016. And ranting and ranting and ranting. And I said, and I just gotten out of the hospital. I was trying to get some sleep. I was just recovering. And he called and woke me up from a prodigious sleep. I was in a deep sleep. And he woke me up. And he starts ranting. And I couldn't help it. I was tired. I was not feeling well. And I snapped at him. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? The first words out of my mouth. What the fuck is wrong with you? You know I don't give a shit about this. I don't want to talk politics with you or anybody. I don't talk politics with people. It's my personal shit. And you calling me to rant about this guy just makes me like him even more because you're fucking half nuts. He never talked to me again. He threatened me. He threatened me once. I said, and I responded to him, knives, guns, you name the place and time and I'll show up if this is how it's going to go with you. Otherwise, fuck off and leave me alone. And he threatened me. I'm the wrong person to threaten. I'll go. Because I learned a lesson from my grandfather. He taught me. Never fight a man who's got nothing to lose. And when you go into a fight, always be the guy who's got nothing to lose. You got to let go of everything. Nothing matters but that thing in front of you. And it works. But with Vindicated, the personality is me. John, when he says things, that's me. How I would react to those moments and the things that I would say. Because I deliver that line when he throws a knife into him and he says, man, it sucks to be you. As the guy's sitting with a knife in his subclavian artery. God, it sucks to be you. And he's constantly making little fucking quirky comments. That's me. But when it comes to the warrior, he's based off of several soldier friends of mine that were fucking operators. These are guys that I admired. There's a little bit of my buddy Kyle Fisher in there from the Army. And Kyle was wounded in combat. And I threw a little bit of that in there. The only thing I didn't, because Kyle had a thick Cajun accent, which I made fun of him for, but it was actually a beautiful accent. And he'd say things like I do with Martin. I would go, "What? I don't know what you just said, but it sounded wonderful." So I've been doing that joke for years with my friends with accents, thick accents. But it's really funny. Like I had this conversation with him one day, and I kept calling him Fish. His name's Fisher, but I kept calling him Fish because we always shorten names and stuff. People call me Kiss, and I didn't care, but it bothered him because it made him think it's Fish. And I turned to him. I said, "It's good enough for my brothers and sisters to have that name, but not good enough for you." Okay. And I didn't mean it. And he got that accent. I can't imitate that fucking Cajun accent. I didn't mean anything by it. I said, I just fucking with it. I'm calling you that. Because my brother, my siblings are the Abrams, 3 of them, and then the other 3 are the Fishes. Abrams and Fish, and then Cassell. I'm the only Cassell that survived. That's like the boom. Bush Elish? What is that? I don't know what that is. Eilish? I don't know. What is she?
Oh, Bush says, "Fuck the haters," and Lady B says, "Billie Eilish, but I don't know, bad guy, blah blah."
Oh yeah, fuck Billie Eilish. I can't stand her. She's got this beautiful voice and does nothing good with it. She could not fucking sing a hook or write a hook. Her and her brother.
You're
they
talking
never
about
have a good hook in any of their music.
You're talking about Cillian Murphy wearing a wig.
Cillian? Oh, I love Cillian Murphy.
Well, she's Cillian Murphy with a wig.
I don't see that.
Oh, you will. I will send you a picture, and you will.
Okay.
It's a meme. They're both of them side by side, and when you see the picture and go, "Oh my god, they're twins."
There's another one. A meme from a while back. I still joke about to this day. Is that you never see Matt Damon and Hilary Swank in the same room at the same time because they're one and the same.
Oh.
And the reference photo is from him in the movie Courage Under Fire when he lost all that weight.
Yes, when he's emaciated. Yeah.
He and she look a lot alike, and it's creepy weird. You know what I look like right now, though? Right here, right that angle? I look like Michael Ironside right there.
Oh, you don't?
I love Michael Ironside. I knew someone, he died last year, who is an amputee. He joked, I zigged when I should have zagged. No, this is something that is in there. The inspiration for Vindicated Inc. And I'm not shitting you. This is how it happened. I got in the car to drive 2 blocks to the other apartment complex to pay our landlord for rent. So I got in the car and I had this idea for a cartoon. And the cartoon was 2 war veterans, amputees, playing basketball. And both of them are, multiple legs and arm. And they're playing basketball. And one has his arms, he doesn't have his legs. The other one doesn't have his legs and it lost an arm. And they're playing basketball. And the dude with the one arm makes a one-handed shot, swoosh, right in. Okay. He turns, winning point. He throws up his stump and goes, phantom limb high five. And the guy puts his other hand up and goes, smack with his mouth. And it's dark humor because all my amputee buddies thought that was fucking hilarious. Phantom limb high five. Because that's what they're like. I've worked with these guys. I worked at the VA temporarily when I was in the Army. It was one of the last duties I got to do, and that was one of the greatest experiences of my life. And I love wounded soldiers, man. I love wounded warriors. Some scars are on the inside, but they're great guys, man. There's something else. And this book is my love story to them. And I even say it in the preface. It says, Vindicated Inc. is my love song to every warrior who left a piece of themselves on the battlefield or brought some of the battlefield home with them. And people are like, I've had a couple of guys go, that's poetic. And I'm like, I'm a poet. I write poetry. And I mean it, though. What? What is he talking about now? That got stopped at a crosswalk in Florida, legally blind. He had his cane in his. Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that. So that was Lady V's question, so we can remove that one. I hope that answered that okay for you. That's why I'm not fond of the term conservative. Well, look, conservative doesn't mean what a lot of people think it means. They think it means socially conservative. I went, no, that's the religious right. I'm not socially conservative even remotely. I've got a mouth on me, and I say things that are not conservative. I'm fiscally conservative, and that's what conservative is actually supposed to mean. Fiscally conservative. That means be fiscally responsible. That's all it's supposed to mean.
That sounds familiar.
To stand up for people's rights. We stand up for human rights. Conservatives stand up. True conservatives stand up for human rights. Doesn't matter what their race, gender, or what. You have every right. That's why, I'm friends with Scott and Chris, because I said that one day, and I said, well, gay people don't deserve any special rights just because they're gay. They get the same rights that's in the Bill of Rights. That needs to be defended, and you have every right to pursue happiness in your life and not be treated differently for it. If you're being treated differently, then you're getting special treatment. Nobody gets that. And that's where true conservative lies. You get the religious right, and I don't get along with them very well. I don't like them. I'm like, that's not true conservatism. I believe patriotism is part of it with being a true conservative. And that's the only way I could be a conservative, because I'm not religiously right-wing at all. Never have been. I grew up in an Irish Catholic household. They're all Democrats. Am I right, Keith?
Yeah.
But the Catholic Church is finding itself more and more. No, big Kennedy supporters, big Democrats. It's like a majority of the Boston politicians are Catholics, Democrats. So it's big name politicians right now are at odds with the church, because the church is like going, the minute that the Democratic Party sided solely with abortion, that was where the line was drawn between them and the Catholic Church. That we can't agree with you on that. We can't agree with you on that. They had been huge, staunch supporters of the Democratic Party all the way up until that. And that's where it started falling apart for our family. My family. I stopped being Catholic in the late 90s. Most of the family stopped. It's a tradition, not a religion. I found my problem with the Catholic Church was I got into a fight with the Monsignor here in Springfield. And I said some very choice things to him one day about my daughter. I got angry at him. I said, you're talking paperwork and I'm talking her soul. If this is really how you feel, you're not really a priest, you're a bureaucrat. Yeah, I pissed him off, and I did not give a fuck.
No,
because he pissed me off. What he said.
Your reason, your line of reason was absolutely right.
Well, my godfather, who's an Irish Dublin-born priest, said so too. He agreed with me. But I don't know what's wrong with that Monsignor. Give me his name. I'll talk to him. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I fight my own fights. I don't need my fucking godfather fighting a fight for me. I'm not that kind of, person that wants people fighting fights for me. That's why I got mad at my daughter recently, because I'd asked her to say something to somebody, and she came back with me, well, why don't you say something? I'm like, Are you fucking kidding me? You know, she offered it too. She was like, she had said, maybe I could say something. I'm like, yeah, that'd be great because I've been talking myself, but why don't you do it? And I'm like, I've already fucking done it. I've talked myself blue in the face and I'm not getting anywhere with them. I'm like, that's why I was hoping maybe they might feel sympathy for you. They don't give a fuck what goes on with me. And so I got mad at her over it. And I said, I'll never fucking ask you to do anything for me. Because I don't do that. I don't want people doing shit for me. And I'm like, why would you fucking offer it? And she's like, I love you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to let it go. Give it to the universe. Just like spark.
Yep.
Can't stay mad at her. I don't stay mad at people. What is this that you're trying to share? Oh, the Cillian Murphy thing.
Yeah. There you have it.
All right, I don't like that. Get rid of that. I don't want to see it in the back studio either. That's creepy.
No,
any other
no,
questions before we go? Because that was my response. This is what people think is conservative is not what they think it is. Conservative has to do with money and being fiscally responsible to your citizens. You're a duly authorized representative of your people, your constituents, and politicians have forgotten that. And they go up there, they get elected, and then they go about what they want, what they need. Political careers are the greatest sin to this country. My mother's family is Protestant, dad's family is Catholic. The Christians are generally left. The Catholics were right. Not in our family. Catholics were always Democrats. Big supporters of John F. Kennedy.
It's a pun. Catholics were right.
Oh.
It's a wordplay. Oh, man.
Well, true conservative says, yes, you are correct. We like little government, small government. We don't like big government with their fingers in your fucking life like they do, a nanny government. I hate that.
And pockets.
Every time you create a new law, you give the government power over you. And that shouldn't be a thing. But the people keep making it that way. And I separate myself from people like that want to keep making new laws. I'm like with shootings, you get these mass shootings. They want to create new laws. It's like, well, wasn't it enough that every single murder they committed was a crime? There were laws broken with every one of those. What makes you think your new laws is going to stop them next time? It's to infringe on those of us who obey the law. That's why you're doing it. It's about control. It's about control. And that's why I hate politicians. The federal government main job is to make sure checks and balances. That's it. Their main job is to make sure that there are no outstanding checks that can't be covered. That's really all they're doing. They can't even do that. They're terrible. It's one of the things I agreed most with Reagan on. It's like, if somebody from the government says we're here to help, run. Don't go to them. The government cannot help you.
I have my own idea about it. Federal government really its main function is to coordinate the defense of the nation.
Well, that's also it too. But again, it's to
no, because if you have but if you have a federation, every state has its own legislature. So you really
but here's another thing we're seeing right now that drives me crazy. No state can create a law that infringes on the Constitution, federal law of the Constitution. And yet we see it constantly being done. New York infringes on people's rights constantly. California, absolutely. These are leftist, not liberal, leftist run states. And they've infiltrated the system so badly that they're destroying the infrastructure of this country. And that's the one thing that the government is supposed to help prevent from happening, because the infrastructure is what's necessary for us to stay alive. Without that, it's chaos. Absolute chaos. And the government is there to represent the people to make sure it doesn't happen. And that's what as what I consider to be conservative, here to stand for it, and always have. I believe in helping the poor. That if the people want, because charities don't do the job well enough, they don't. And so I believe in programs being created, but it should be civilian run, not by oversight committees where people are put in that position by the government. That never works. Never works. And your best run charitable organizations could be run through the government too, and run by private citizens. And they keep doing it wrong. That's why socialized medicine works but doesn't work in Canada and in England. That, and why it doesn't work, what I was saying is, like, once you get in, you get good treatment, a lot of good care. It's the wait period that kills people, and people die waiting to get that treatment. That's the problem with socialized medicine. That's the only problem. It's what's wrong with the VA, because the VA is socialized medicine for veterans. That's all it is. And look at the failure they've got. They have a huge failure rate due to long wait times. That's why suicide is so high among combat vets.
Well,
yeah, that whole thing with tenure and all that stuff, Shinatsky, I have a huge problem with that, because you should always be able to be fired. Teachers that can't be fired is some horse shit. No job should ever create jobs that someone can't be fired from if they've been there long enough. That's bullshit. I don't know if that question's for me, Lady V. I'm very active. I'll just tell you that. I'm very active, and I stand up for what I believe in. I will debate occasionally. Keith and I are politically opposed in some ways, but we mostly agree. We did that test. Keith and I did that test, and we found out of the 4 squares to the political window, we're like right this far apart. I'm just this side of conservative, and he's just this side of liberal. We're like right next to each other.
That just means there's a whole bunch of people that could hate us on all sides.
Yep.
So you're paratroopers. You're always surrounded.
And by the way, I will tell you, there is a paratrooper scene in Vindicated that takes place in the second book. And I went to some of my Ranger buddies and I said, I want him to breach this place. And the way I've got it written is this specific kind of breach through a mouse hole. And they immediately said, that's not how we would do it, because they'd be expecting that. Your bad guy would be expecting that. You have to do it in a way that he would never, the main villain would never expect him to breach. And I can't tell you what it is, but it involves jumping. And it leads to one of my favorite moments in book 2, where he gets spotted by a security guy, bad guy, on the roof of this building as he's coming in. And the guy looks up, sees him, and he's like, am I seeing what he's like, he has that moment, like, is that a person? And so he throws a combat tomahawk and sticks him right in the fucking head with it. And all my buddies that served with the 72nd Stryker Brigade love the tomahawk being at it, because they were with the tomahawk team. Heading over to Teague's show. Say hi to him for me, Tim. Tell him Gerry said hi. I don't have shit.
Bye, Tim.
See you later, buddy. Politics. Losing me. The illusion is that voting works in a system that's rigged. You got to get more base level, and you got to clean the system. the system's been polluted since the 1950s. It started. That was when you first heard the term political career. The minute it becomes a career, it's no longer about your constituents. It's about you, what you're getting, and that's my problem with politics. We need to defund Congress, defund them. Anybody that can vote on their own fucking wages to give themselves a raise, there's a problem.
You would think. Maybe a little conflict of interest.
Yes, the Tomahawk thing is big because his team carries them. His special forces team. They are Rangers, by the way. They're specifically Delta Force operators, Tier 1 level. And there's a great video if you ever want to watch it. Over on YouTube, look up what's the difference between Tier 1 and Tier 2. And they kind of go into it. Even though they're usually the same skill set, there are specific things that are required of Tier 1 operators that Tier 2 operators don't do. They could be trained to do it, but they don't tend to not do it because they rely on Tier 1 operators to do these specific jobs. When Gerry talks about the book, it sounds like a movie. Yeah, I have movies in my head.
I have a question for
Martin?
you. Yeah.
All right.
How many tiers do operators have?
There's a series, and I really don't know how many tiers there are. I know I've seen a listing of 4, but I don't know. There may be more. We're not supposed to know some of these things. I think it's good to not know all these things. But we do know that Tier 1 operators' specific function is to deal directly with terrorism. That's their primary function. Tier 1 operators they're the guys that get sent out to capture or kill specific targets, take out installations that get reported in the news as an incident. We don't know what happened. Operators have
it's key.
The kid's grandfather is literally on the tribal council. That's fantastic, man. I also, I deal in the book with tribal issues. There's that in the book because the character I base on Shane Moore is like Shane Moore, mixed race. He's American Indian. He's specifically Ojibwa or Chippewa, and American, whatever, white. And in my story, Frank Tedesco is half Italian, half American Indian, Chippewa, just like him. And the character looks like him. I made him look like Shane Moore. He's got the little mohawk, everything. Looks like a crew cut, but it's a mohawk. And he has to drop off a weapon back to the reservation because it was used in a crime off the res. And they needed it for evidence. And now that it's done, it's being returned to its owner. And so he goes to the tribal police, the res police, to drop it off. And this female at the desk kind of flirts with him. He feels good about himself. He's walking out just kind of high, walking on a cloud, in good mood. And 2 of the res cops are nearby and you can hear him talk. And one says, "Look at that fucking apple." And it deflates him. And apple is in American Indian term for American Indians who don't like other American Indians who act white. They're red on the outside, white on the inside. That's what that means, apple. And I wanted to throw that in there because I've had American Indian friends who were treated that way. One who served with me in the Army, he got called that. He was Navajo. Couldn't shoot worth a shit. I was put in charge of teaching him how to shoot. And I ended up being the one that qualified him because I sat in a foxhole next to him. We lined it up just perfectly so we would go in at the same time into our little foxhole. And instead of firing down my lane, I had already qualified, so I didn't have to qualify again. So I aimed at his targets, and I told him, I said, I'll make you a marksman. I won't make you any better than that. That way you're qualified. And I did it. I cheated for him. I'll do that for a friend. But when I was trying to teach him, we had this special equipment. It was an M16 laser M16 that you would lay down and you'd be 20 feet away, but the targets were scaled to a certain size. So it would look like they were further away. And it was to equal the distance with your eye to know the distance. And so he kept missing the target. And I said the line. I said this to him. It's in the book too. I threw it in there. He says, why don't you just pretend it's a white guy and maybe you'll hit him? He showed me the
Really?
look.
Really?
He showed me a dirty look, and I said, see if it works before you get mad at me. He still missed it.
Wow.
Yeah. But I've always been a little bit racist on the funny side, because I just think that if you can't make fun of each other's races, why be here? You know, have some levity about your own race. People say things about my race, Irish, mostly, Welsh, Scottish. I don't care. Make fun of it. I'm good with that. Make fun of me being white. I don't care. Hey, everybody, Eddie Murphy. Everybody talks like this. Eddie Murphy. All white guys. Right, Keith? All white guys. And then I met a white guy that talked that way. His name was Clarence. He was the manager at the first Taco Bell in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And he was my boss, and he fired me after 3 days. And he really talked like this. He was like, you really need to take your job more serious. And I chuckled when he said it. I couldn't help it because I understand irony. And he says, what's so funny? And I said, well, you're saying that to me as I'm standing here with a boat oar in my hand, stirring refried beans with it. And a paper hat and paper apron. I threw that in too. And he goes, well, if that's your attitude, why don't you just go ahead and clock out and leave? And I went, oh, you're serious? He goes, yeah, go ahead and go. Just clock out. I don't want to see you again. Don't come back. Oh, okay. And he fired me right there on the spot for making a joke about what he said. Wow. He was mad at me. And I know why he was mad at me, because I took all the wind out of his sails, because before he could chew me out for being late the third day, I just moved. I was living with Charlie Bruce. Moved across town to move in with him. And I was late all 3 days because I was in between moving. And I was trying to figure out, and I'm like, finally on that day, I'm like, I took off 15 minutes early and it still wasn't enough. I ended up being 3 minutes late. So I'm going to take off 20 minutes early. And I told him that. I said, I'm so sorry. It is all my fault. All my fault. It was all my fault. I owned it. I said, it'll never happen again. I now know exactly how long it's going to take me to walk here from home. And you got my word. I'll never. Everything. He wanted to rage on me or something. And I took all the wind out of his sail by owning it. He wasn't used to that, somebody owning their mistakes. And so he turned that rage into just firing me because he didn't like my sense of humor. But what am I, Keith? What am I?
A dick.
I'm a dick. I would always go to Taco Bell when I knew he was working, and I would always go into the line he was in charge of and order from him. Just to fucking annoy him.
Wow.
Because I'm a dick. I would go, hey, how's it going, man? Yeah, I was wanting to get 3 bean burritos with sour cream. Extra onions, please. Oh, I was kind of hoping you'd be making it today. Okay, that's fine. You can oversee it. You're good at overseeing making burritos. Compliment in a way that's so derogatory, but make it sound like it's supposed to be a compliment, like I don't know how to compliment. Make it sound like you don't know how to compliment. And playing stupid. It's the rule of playing stupid and being smarter than the person in front of you. It works.
Oh, yeah.
If you can tell someone is just being hateful, it's different.
Yes, it's about the bantering and the bickering. And putting each other.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to get rid of me. He wanted to fire me. He was looking for any excuse, and I'm fine with that. I didn't really want to work for Taco Bell. I really didn't. Like, oh my god, I fucking hate this job. Is that speech from Team America?
Yeah. Guns, dicks, and assholes.
Oh, I love that. I love that speech, man. That is a great speech. Look, those guys, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, are really smart dudes. And what I love about them is they use it for evil that's helpful and funny. But they are kind of evil, but in a good way.
Well,
they're not like going to hell evil.
Well, they're funny, but they have a point, and rather than they're using what they know, their inside knowledge about pop culture and about even the business of Hollywood to make themselves wealthy. Yeah, and they're doing it.
Fun of people that are friends of theirs too.
Oh yes,
Matt Damon and George Clooney are actual friends with them. George Clooney I think he was best man at his wedding.
Well, they both lent their voices to Team America. They were both.
No, they were going.
Oh, they were going
did
to.
Not.
They didn't.
They were going to. They offered, but didn't. And I just could not imagine Matt Damon trying to make himself sound as retarded as the guy that. And I think it was Trey Parker that did his voice. And my name is Matt Damon.
It was the only thing he said. Matt Damon. He never spoke other words.
He's like Groot. He's like Groot. Groot.
But I mean, when you think about how long it actually takes them to actually make these episodes, they've gotten so good over the years. It really doesn't take. Yeah, they can just start ripping out episodes. But when you consider how much money they are making, and
the best part of this is their checks got bigger and they did less and less work.
Yep,
that's amazing because
those guys are winning.
Doing what was it? 20 episodes down to what, 8 now? I think that's all they do this season. 8.
Yeah, but they're making so much money.
Now they're doing movies. And the movies make me giggle. I think they missed a couple points because I agree with Chato on this, that there was a greater point to be made that they completely left on the floor with what was going on in the I just lost track. I'm sorry. What
Pandaverse?
What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the Pandaverse. They left something on the floor that should have been talked about. Because if you haven't watched Chato's breakdown, he said it's a show that kind of missed the mark. I kind of agree, but don't totally agree, because I felt like they got the point across, but I don't think they went far enough. Well, there was I'm not sure why they didn't go all the way.
Not that they're not, but he's been writing and performing comedy a lot longer than they have, and I think as a comedian, from his point of view, he thinks they left some stuff that they could have easily have done that, in his opinion, would have probably even made it funnier. But I mean, everybody has their own way of working. I mean, not everybody can attack the same things the same way, and not everybody's going to see everything in a way that they could easily make the same joke. You can have a joke being made by 3 or 4 different people, and all of them will tell it differently. Seth MacFarlane probably wouldn't make half the jokes that those guys, Trey and Matt, make. And then you have the Simpsons writers wouldn't even do that, or even the people that write Archer wouldn't do a lot of those same jokes. But they all are funny in their own way, and they all have a different approach. And I appreciate all of those shows,
right.
But yeah, Trey and Matt, they really do have it down. It's not even a science anymore. They're just getting paid to have fun, and you have to at least appreciate that about those guys.
Well, that's like Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler has gotten to the point in his career where he gets other people to pay him to go have a vacation with his best friends. And then while they're doing it, make a movie.
Yeah.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the dream. That really is the dream. To get paid to basically have fun and hang out. I mean, that's the reason why the Oceans movies were a lot of fun for the people that made them, because it really did become a group of friends just hanging out. It's the reason why the original Ocean's 11 was what it was. Those guys were all mainly just hanging out.
Yeah, that wasn't even really a movie in so many ways. It's just them hanging out on film.
Yeah.
And let's throw a heist in there. Although I do love that ending where all the money gets burned up.
Oh, classic.
By the way, I just happened to open my email, and I want to throw some thank yous out. We have a contribution of $50 from our good friend Deleted Scene for one of the campaign tiers.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. This message is a note for you that the contribution for Vindicated Inc. for $25 from that 70s.
Wow.
Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Whoa, Boosh. Okay.
The Stick of Truth fantasy RPG and the Fractured but Whole superhero RPG.
Here's another comment.
That was funny. I was watching John play. I called it Ballers Gate. I called it Ballers Gate this morning. It was so funny because like this character, impish character, is threatening a child, and the other character's reactions were, "I don't fucking care. I am completely emotionally detached from what you're doing." It's fucking funny to me.
Thank you, Boosh. I did not know that. Never recognized that before. Boosh says he says he's asking me in the video games, harder difficulty makes your character's skin darker. Yeah, and I bet your basketball skills are a little bit better. And
oh my god,
I love that one. Read by nature. I'm sorry, that makes me giggle.
Credit score goes a little wonky, but you know.
So Anima says Rocket Kitty just woke her up. Yeah, we're still going. We got 2 new submissions, so that's good. I'm going to be going on Latino Slant. I'm going to be going on Midnight's Edge. I think, is it tonight? I don't know when I'm doing it. Let me check with Tom.
Yeah, and as long as we finish here, no, as soon as we finish here.
Oh no, he's going to do it Monday. I have to remind him all weekend. He goes, "Dude, I completely spaced out." He says, "Monday, we're doing it Monday." He says, "With Andre, please remind me constantly throughout the weekend. Don't forget." Oh my God. Let me ask him real quick. Do I need to send you art for your thumbnail?
Thumb screws?
Thumb screws? Everybody needs thumb screws. Every house. Because sometimes you got to put somebody to the thumb screws, man. So, man, I've got a lot of fucking messages waiting for me over on Facebook. Jesus Christ, I'm gone for a couple hours. It blows up.
One would think that you're just keeping everything together.
I got to share this. I love it when people post pictures of people I love in real life. This guy was a dear friend of mine, Morgan Paul from Blade Runner. He's in so cool fucking movies, man. But he played Holden in Blade Runner. And like, here's some pictures of him right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's from Dirty O'Neill, 1974, man. There he is with Harrison Ford. Yes. Edge of Darkness, 1974. Look at that.
That's definitely pre-Star Wars.
Years later, a lot of people don't know this, that Harrison Ford wasn't available to do the narration for the first Blade Runner trailer. The narration you hear was Morgan doing Harrison Ford. And to me, it doesn't sound anything like Ford. But it was his approximation because they're very similar in vocal tones.
Mm-hmm.
They also competed with one another for films. They're always up for the same roles. We lost Morgan back in the 20-teens. Did not expect that to happen, man. He had cleaned up his life, had quit smoking, quit drinking, met a woman, fell in love, having a great life, and just came home from shopping and keeled over. Had a massive heart attack.
Wow.
And I'm still friends with his daughters. They're great kids. I want to do a Morgan Paul episode and have them both on. It's hard to do because they're on different schedules. They also, one sister lives in Europe and the other one here in the States, so they're in different time zones. So it's going to be logistically a nightmare, but I want to get them both on. I fixed roofs. Don't call me Bush the Thatcher. Yeah, that goes with that joke I said. I was playing Xbox one night, and I kicked the shit out of one of my own teammates. We were playing our team playing against each other for training for clan battles, and we were at that point we were the number one clan on GameBattles.com for Call of Duty and America's Army at different points. And Barbecue Bob, Barbecue is one of the clans that we would play against, but they were friends of ours. And Bob finally eventually joined our clan. And Bob was one of those guys. He's fucking weird. He always referred to himself in the third person. Always. He's from what is that town outside of LA? Something Bear, California. It's famous town, little town.
Ojai? No.
Hold on, me being on. Do you want art promo? Okay, I'm sorry. Tom's talking to me at the same time.
Brentwood.
So what was I telling you? So we're playing this game, and I killed the fucking shit out of him on the other team, and I intentionally did it. I kept looking for him because I knew all the places he would go on this one map, and I just slaughtered the fucking shit out of him. Every time he would just about catch me, and Bob would say things like during a clan match, he'd be drunk out of his gourd. You'd hear him yell out, "That boy killed Bob like Bob owed him money." Bob's just pushing on doors that say pull. Always referring to himself in the third person. It was fucking goofy. But I loved it. He was funny as shit. And the drunker he got, the funnier he was. But we were clan battling one day, training. Our clan broke up. Team A, Team B went up against each other. And I was just slaughtering the shit out of him. After the match was done, he is that fucking cocksucker Cohen's ghost. And I said, "Really, Bob? Look, man, I have painted portraits of famous celebrities, political figures. I have been commissioned to make movie posters. I have done sculptures of movie stars that have sold." I said, "I've done all this artwork for years, and I suck one cock, and that's what you call me?" That threw him. That was funny. He didn't see that one coming, and he just started laughing. See, that thing keeps happening, Martin. I'm trying to respond to Tom, and that window pops up. I'm like, what the fuck is causing that?
That happened to me some time ago. And
Just did it again.
Mysteriously as it began, it ended. I did nothing. I never knew what it was. It just stopped happening. The thing is, that little window only popped up on my main screen, not in my secondary like it's doing to you.
It's really bizarre, and it doesn't pop up on the right window because this is the main machine. This is where it pops up, and I do other stuff on the other screen that it's bigger, and so I can read it easier. So any chat or anything I do over on the right window, it's more clear to my bad eyes. And I keep having to push my glasses up because they're trifocals. Up here is for long distance. Right here in the middle is for computer screens. And right here is for when I got to read fine print.
Dude, I tried those ones and I couldn't. I couldn't train my eyes.
It's frustrating, but my reading glasses, the good ones I have, they're over in Spiderland over here to the left. I got overly animated talking to Anima about something, and my finger got caught in the frame of my glass, and it shot off my face and flew into the darkness of Spiderland. And she's like, "Are you going to go get it?" I went, "Fuck no."
Nope.
She goes, "Well, how bad is it?" I said, "Everything has webs on it." She goes, "Oh," and I went, "Yeah." So I did lean over and threw a flashlight. I'm like, if it's someplace that I can see and I can possibly reach, I got a grabber, one of those grabber things. I'll use that. But I couldn't find them. I'm like, nope, Spider's got
it. Spider's got themselves some new glasses.
And the spiders are like, hey, our roommate threw the glasses over. Now we can read shit. Yeah, because spiders, I love that joke. Spiders just think they're our roommates. Just really bad roommates because we try to kill them.
Basically. Jeez.
Yeah, well, the reason why is because I work on a computer and the reading glasses don't help me much on that. I need mid-range glasses. Plus, these are UV protected.
Look at Lauren say.
Yes, I know that, and that doesn't bother me as long as they stay on their side of the room. I was sitting here. See, Lauren wasn't here. She missed this because she's been dealing with what she's dealing with, and missed it when I told that story about I'm sitting there right at the end of summer, and it's like right when things are changing, and it's this wolf spider. I've seen him, and I leave him alone because wolf spiders eat the bad spiders.
Yep,
and along with other insects, wolf spiders are friends. They really are. And so this wolf spider is just sort of like at night, he's been sitting and hanging out on the wall. And I'm like looking at him, what's up, dude? He's like, hey, just fucking hanging out. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm sitting there and I'm like talking to Anima. And while I'm talking to her, I said, and I stopped talking. I looked to my left and there's this wolf spider just walking over towards the door next to me when I was in the dining room. I went, hey, and it's looking at me. And I went, you want to go outside, huh? So I open the door and open it, and he's going out, but then he stops and turns around and looks at me again. And I'm like, fuck this. You got to go. You got to go now. So I took my pill container and I just sort of pushed him, come on, go on. And he like got outside the door and he turned around and he lifted his like front legs in protest. I'm like, you want it out. And I shut the door in his face. I'm like, fuck off. I've never seen him since. He's gone.
Wow.
He went back to his life out in the wilderness.
He's going to give you a bad rating.
Yeah.
Worst roommates ever.
Yelp. That's a fucking asshole. Fucking push me out. But I wanted him to get out. I didn't want, I don't want to kill spiders if they're not poisonous. I only kill poisonous spiders. Or spindly spiders too, because I fucking hate spindly spiders. Wolf spiders like tarantulas don't bug me. They're not spindly. It's the ones with the needle fucking legs that, I fucking hate those. Black widows. Oh. Certain garden spiders, fuck them, burn them.
Oh my God, so much pussy talking here.
Oh, you wrote a short story based on me and spiders. Okay. I'm going to have to read that. Don't share it with Anima. She hates those things. Any reference to spiders. Oh, don't talk about them. So. Okay, wow. Tom did not message me back. Are there any more messages? Are important right now? No, right now. I got some from Martin. Clearly not important. Nothing, Martin? Nothing?
No.
No response, Martin?
No.
I feel bad right now, and this is a shout out to my buddy, Mark Lee Center. He got sick this week, and it's just kicking his ass. He got a cold, and he's just having trouble with it. I feel bad for him. He's one of those people, when he gets sick, he really gets sick. Oh, look. Looks like I need to block somebody. Yep. I don't know how to do this property.
No.
Colleen, I thought I banned her from our Pop Culture Minefield chat. I could have sworn I had. Who started that general chat? Was that you?
No.
Keith?
The general chat?
I see you on it every once in a while. Yeah, the general chat for Pop Culture Minefield.
I don't think I started that one, no. But I every so often I'll post something to it.
Because I don't know what to do here. It offers me these things. It says, remove, oh, come on. Remove side chat, report to Facebook. What's the best thing to do? Because I want to remove her, but she needs to be reported too.
Yeah.
Which one should I do? Report or remove her?
Mute the whole chat.
You're not helping.
No,
I would go ahead and just remove her and then see if you can report her.
Bye, Penny.
Bye, Penny.
Bye, Penny. I can worry about it now. Someone else can worry about it. I'm just going to look her up in the group.
Yeah.
Kick her out of the group. Where's members? People. They changed it from members to people now.
Oh, jeez.
Fucking meta. He's such a dick nozzle. Oh, she added herself again.
How did she do that?
Banned from group. I don't know.
I told you.
Because I banned her previously. There we go.
Huh.
She's gone. Gone. Okay.
Oh.
She's gone now.
Good.
There. All right. So let's wrap this up, man. It was fun talking. I'm glad we got a couple of new contributors to the campaign. I hope we get more. But I'm going to be going doing a tour, going on other people's shows. I'm doing Nick Weiser next Friday. I'm going to be going on Clobby's show in 2 weeks, I think. And next week, I'll also be on Loki's channel in the morning on Wednesday. I'll be on Midnight's Edge on Monday and whatever Polly schedules with me.
Well, tell Loki I said hi. Tell Andre and Tom I said hi.
No, you can tell him hi.
Tell Polly I said sup. And
what's up, my light brown brother?
It's just great seeing.
Still think it's funny. You laughed when I said this the first time, and I think it's true. That Hispanic is like another race until they kill a black guy. And then they're just another white guy.
Look, I still think that was one of the.
Remember Trayvon Martin?
No.
case?
White adjacent.
White adjacent.
I remember telling Paulie once, I said, part of the reason why Black Panther 2 was really not on my radar is that I kind of recognize it's like you realize in changing the Atlanteans the way that they did, basically you have, now you get it.
I know where you're going.
I said, hold up. You know,
I'm just gonna say it. You have the Mexican guy having to enter the most technological nation in the world by crossing a river, and you have to beat him. You have to dry his back.
Yes.
What the fuck?
But also just having, you know, I mean, I said, hey man, given all the problems in the world, and they pretty much reduced it down to, you know, black people versus brown people. It's like, no. I said, I totally disagreed with that. It's just, that's just very racist. I'm sorry, Black Panther 2.
But it makes me scratch my chin. And remember, in the army, I thought it was really weird that the Hispanics and the black soldiers didn't get along. They were always at odds with each other. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Like Chris Rock said,
never understood it.
The lower on the economic ladder you are, the better fighter you are. You know.
It's crazy. They would get like almost into fights.
Yeah. That's
all I cared about is, you know, I don't care if you like me or don't like me. Respect me.
Yeah.
Respect my authority. You know, as your school leader. And if you just respect me, we're gonna have a problem. And I remember there was this one kid, man. He fucking lipped off at me while we're marching. And in the middle of marching, I spun and knocked him out of formation. I hit him so hard. He went flying out of formation. And I spun back, and only two people saw. The guys that were to my immediate right and my back right saw what I did. And they were like, holy shit, you did that so fast, and we're right back marching. Because he was talking behind my head, saying shit to me, fucking with me. And I just knocked the fuck out of him. And he got left behind, and he had to come back. Later, he got all pussy hurt. And was like, you know, I told him, I said, we need to talk about you. Oh, fucking you, talking you. I'm like, it's either that or you're going to have to get the fuck out, because I'm your squad leader. You can go to another squad, fuck you. But you don't fucking talk behind my back like that. You disrespect me like that again, it's going to get worse. And because in the military, I told people, I said, there's a pecking order.
Yeah.
In the military. And if you have a problem with being in a pecking order, you're not going to do well in the military.
That's right.
Period. And there are some people that just didn't do well in the military, and they don't do well. Guys like me, it's like you have to fight. It's like a gunslinger. You have to fight to keep where you're at. There's always that guy that thinks he's going to challenge you. And then you got to go, well, look, this is how it works. Kick my ass. And then you can have the job. And that's about what it's like.
Well, I mean, there are just some people that they get into something and they reach a point where I don't know if it's a character flaw or if their brains turn off. All the things that it was explained how that job worked. And there are just some people that come in and decide one day those rules no longer apply to me. Especially in the military, it's like, you're in the wrong place to pull one of those brain farts, you know? There are a lot of people that are the great thing about the military is there's a lot of people there that will set you straight.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I told you about there was this one guy, we called him New York. He's from NYC. He's from Brooklyn. And he lipped off to me first day. And I looked at him and, oh, you know me. We're friends. He goes, no, man, I just met you. And I went, and you're talking to me like that, I think you've made a mistake. And he goes, hey, because I told him, I said, how did I say it to him? He was the guy I said it to. I can kill you more ways than you know how to die. So you need to fuck off right now before talking to me any further. And he walked away. He goes, I didn't mean nothing by it. I'm like, yeah. But we were cool after that. I liked it. But he had a problem. He just didn't like authority. And this is the shitty side of drill instructors that I didn't like. They punished the fucking shit out of him. They made him go through grass drills. Do you know what a grass drill is?
No.
It's they take you to an unmowed area so the grass is nice and tall. And they make you work on the ground. You do push-ups, sit-ups, and make you low crawl everywhere.
Wow.
And if you've never low crawled, it's not like the on your elbows crawling.
Mm-hmm.
This is laying flat with your face on the ground with one arm in front of you and the other one behind you, pushing with your legs as you move forward. And your legs are bent like that, like Egyptian. And you got to keep pushing yourself forward on the ground, and you can't lift your head. You got to feel in front of you. And he was all cut up from this shit from the grass blades out on the parade field there at Fort Leonard Wood. And they did all this stuff with him with no intention of keeping him. They were kicking him, and they kicked him. Wow. And I'm like, that's just fucking mean. That's just being mean. The lesson was learned because he was trying. He was doing what they were saying. Mm-hmm. And trying to show that he was trying to change, and they still fucking kicked him. And that always pissed me off that they did that.
Yeah,
because everybody deserves a chance.
That's what I was going to say. Everybody deserves the chance to at least show that they can change and improve. You know, because that's the only way I think we're going to make it. You know, if you are not allowed to grow and improve, then we're going to have problems as a species for the rest of time.
Yep. And that's my problem with woke people, because they go to the complete polar opposite, but it's the same problem, but just going a different direction. I'm like, yeah, you're not fixing anything.
Some of that's mixed in with greed. Some of it is just calculated to take things that they know that they'd have to work years for and trying to get it immediately. You know, that's the unfortunate side of a lot of this, at least as far as Hollywood and Disney specifically. I think we're seeing now where that gets you. You get rid of all the people that have actually earned their places, that have spent years working there. You get rid of all the people with experience. And what you're left with is this is embarrassing, an entire corporation filled with people who can't do anything. They have completely self-destructed as a company. Now, I get it. You know, it's not like it's a huge fire sale. I mean, obviously, it's still standing. But the quality of what they were good at has fallen so far. And I remember telling you back when we first started, Gerry, that one of the things that Disney really should have been doing all along is trying to figure out the next generation of animation, different ways of going, experimenting, because they were at the top. They were at the top of the pyramid. And they have found a way to fall out of being the top of the pyramid. There's no reason why that should happen. The one thing Walt really, I should say, the one thing that Roy, Walt, and Ub worked their asses off to be really good at is the one thing that now, 100 years later, they can't do. Can't do it.
Yeah.
You spend 6 years animating a movie. Iger gets up on stage and trying to just, you know, wants to blame Bob Chapek, who is only technically in control for 11 months out of 6 years. That math don't work. That math does not work. A lot of you guys out there that are still carrying a lot of water for Disney, your math does not work. Math and you are not meeting anytime soon, along with logic. You know, and so
I think you'll like this one. Here you go. Is 200 zeros a lot? Depends on their position. If they're after a decimal point, no. If they're above Pearl Harbor, yes.
Oh my god!
wow.
Oh,
Wow.
I did not see that coming, and it just fucking made me chuckle.
Oh. Well.
And I'm like, it's like the first thing that goes to my mind is I don't want to laugh about Pearl Harbor, but god damn it, that was funny.
Yeah.
So here, I like it. I like awesome one says Gerry lives matter. Erase knowledge and tradition with nothing to fill the void.
Well, stupidity will fill the void. The inability to learn will fill the void.
Depending on the void, there's a lot of different kinds of voids. Some you can look into, not so bad. Some you look into and they look back at you. That's some scary shit.
Oh, my Nietzsche's friend.
I am always willing to rent myself out to slap the mess out of people who need it. I'm almost like Terry Tate, office linebacker, but I just gotta, there's a lot of people on this planet that need to be pimp slapped.
Sorry, Tom just messaged me.
Oh, hey, Tom, talking about pimp slapping.
He's talking about me coming on Monday. And I said, hey, do you want any art, images for the show? And he's like, what? And I went, to promote the show. Do you want Vindicated art or anything to promote that I'm coming on? Oh, yeah. Send whatever. I'm like, okay. like we're in two different conversations for a moment.
Yeah.
He's always doing something. So he just gets so easily distracted.
Tom's
does.
one guy that is so many different places. He definitely doesn't really have to work on his pimp slap game. He is on point.
So, Anima's discovering pretty quickly that when I'm focused on doing this stuff, I don't need distractions of any kind. And that includes even in my relationships. I take what I'm doing very seriously with this graphic novel and when I'm working on a project. And I realize what's required here. I got to admit, the last time I did 4 crowdfunding campaigns between 2007 and 2012. Okay. All of them were successful, but the game's different now. And I feel like a novice trying to do this. I'm like, oh my God, the landscape has changed, how you support and promote these things. Some of the basic stuff is still there, but I'm like, oh my God, there are so many things I got to do here that I just don't know if I'm capable of doing, but I'm going to have to focus to do it. And when you're trying to, you've got somebody that needs you to be there for them in a relationship, good luck being there for them. And it's sort of like, this has always been the failure of relationships for me. It always has been. And it bugs me that when I become focused on something, I expect people to respect that, including the person I'm in a relationship with, and to not give me fucking grief for it. And it's like, I told her when we first met, I said, nothing will get me angrier than to be asked by somebody, a woman, when are you coming to bed? When I get there is my answer. And when I'm done and I get there, I'll be in bed. Please don't ask me that, because peak hours for artists, creative types, the standard, it's not always the truth, but for most creative people, it's 11 at night till 3 in the morning, because there's less shit going on. And we're not easily distracted by things. It gets quiet. And we're getting tired too. As we get tired, our brain relaxes and the stream of conscious flow can happen. And I need that to write, especially when I'm writing. I need that flow. And when there's shit going on around me and distracting me, it's tough to get that shit out. I have to have people completely away from me. And another problem I've had in relationship in the past is where I've got to constantly be paying attention to somebody. Well, it's either you or I get my job done. Which is it? Because women have a tendency of liking the idea of dating an artist until they realize a freelance artist takes a great deal of commitment to the art, to getting it done. And that cuts into their time. And then all of a sudden, they're not so for it. They don't like it. I've had women mad at me. I don't spend enough time focusing on their needs. You wanted to date an artist. Welcome to the world. This is what it's like. And that's why I get kind of sick. I got so sick of relationships. And I was out of relationships for 18 years. I didn't bother. I did not want to have a relationship because they're taxing. And I don't feel like feeling bad over things that I have no control over. Like, where do you feel bad about you being who you are? And I won't let anybody, I don't care how much I care about them and love them, nobody gets to make me feel bad about who I am and what I'm doing, ever. I've removed people like that from my life because they're toxic. They might think they're toxic, doesn't mean they're not. And this is tough on Anima, and I feel bad because there's distance between us, but this is reality. And I live in the real world. I live in reality and I never leave it. And even when I'm writing about these stories, the stories are all grounded in reality. That's why Mike Barron said what he said about my book, right there. He said,
let me bring it up.
Yeah, you go ahead and bring it up.
Yeah.
He said, gripping, this book reeks of realism, which is something you seldom see in comics. That's why I wasn't interested in superhero stuff. I like characters. I like Batman. I like the Punisher. And that's what they were wanting me to work on and stuff like that. When Marvel was interested in hiring me, was to work on the grittier, more realistic comics. And coming at it with that more realistic flair, with making people look real when they're doing things. No exaggerated muscles and shooting in ridiculous positions, holding weapons in a way nobody with a weapon would ever hold the weapon. I always have, there's a scene in the comic where he gets pinned. He fucks up. He fucks up because he thought he had cleared the hallway, but he didn't realize there was a small bathroom off the corner of the hallway. And a guy has been in there pissing. And the guy comes out and fires a shotgun into his leg, but he hits the prosthetic leg, blowing a little piece of the metal off into the wood frame, which is found by the police later. And he kills the guy immediately. But then the other mercs that are there guarding the place turn and are coming at him in a wedge formation, firing. And he says the line that Anima really loves, when you're pinned down and everything else has failed, go grenade bowling. My sergeant told me that. Throw grenades. That'll clear a room.
Grenades are your friends?
And they are your friends when you're throwing them. They are. So I got a scene where he's getting pinned down and you see him firing left-handed, because this is something Anima hadn't noticed before. And I pointed out to her that when he's going down the stairs, I show him holding the weapon with the right shoulder. But the minute he turns the corner and he's going to take a secure position behind a wall to his right, he shifts shoulders and he's aiming the weapon with his left hand. This is something I was trained to do in the military. Learn how to fire both hands. You got to learn how to fire left-handed or right-handed, because you need to shift your weapon if you're moving, physically moving, to your surroundings. You got to match it. Like they show it. The only time I've ever seen it used properly ever was in the movie or the miniseries Kill List, and you see Chris Pratt's character going up a set of stairs, and when he turns the stairs a certain way, he does a shoulder shift in order to keep a weapon trained on the door above him, which is where any enemy fire would be coming from. So he has to shift shoulders. And I'm like, that's the first time. And I said, that's the first time anybody's ever shown that in a movie, a shoulder shift like that. And that blew my mind away. I was so excited by that. Tactics. So I throw little things like in there, and Dale loves that. I'll throw little things like that nobody else will notice. Somebody who actually said of that page, he says, did you put the image? He's not holding his weapon in his right hand anymore. I went, no. He shifted shoulders because he's firing around a wall to his right. So he has to fire from the left shoulder. Logic. Military training, it's important. So anything else before we go, guys? We can end this show.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed this. This is fun.
I think we did. We got some things out there.
You want to share the link one more time, Martin, before we end?
Oh yes, of course.
I hope people will be contributors on this campaign. This is important because this will lead to more. I want to finish the trilogy. There probably will be more books as we go along, but the 3 books I want to finish is the original story arc. And in the middle book, it leads to a battle on a 3-tier tower. And it's a brutal fight between John Russell and the main villain. And it's been slow planning, this whole operation. And he's trying to figure, and there's this great nod to Tombstone in it too, by the way, because he turns to Bill and he says that line that Wyatt said to Doc, I can't beat him, can I? I threw that in just as a deliberate love for that movie, Tombstone. And but the fact is he knows he can't beat this guy physically or in any kind of combat. The guy is just better than him. And it's like, how the fuck do you fight somebody like that? And he figures it out. And I'm not going to tell you how. It's brutal. It's fucking brutal, that fight. And it's ugly. I've drawn some of it already. And John doesn't come out the winning side of this physically. But he's got a plan. He's like, what's his name from A-Team?
Hannibal. Hannibal.
Hannibal. I love it when a plan comes together. And that's all I got to say on that. You'll have to wait for that book. You're going to get basically what motivates John. And first, it's rage and anger at the VA, at his disability. And then later, it becomes more honed and focused. And he realizes, I'm actually doing something I didn't realize was important. This matters, what I'm doing. And I can actually make a change. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to take out bad people that are hurting society. Not politicians, by the way. If anybody
that should be the main target.
He's focusing specifically on figures, whether they're political or business, that are funding bad guys doing bad things. And because right now, and this is part of the story, he discovers that the United States is the biggest abuser of children in sex trade. Biggest abuser in the world, in our country, right here. Unacceptable. And that's where he eventually changes. He stops going after drug dealers and he realizes there's something bigger here, or drug makers. He realizes there's a bigger crime going on and he's going to do something about it. So basically, he just wants to kill them all. Anybody involved dies. It's like Man on Fire. I love that.
Yes.
The
one who profited, the one who did it,
anybody who
helped.
profited from it, anybody who helped, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill them all. They're going away. And he says that. He delivers
so many great monologues, man.
Oh, I love it. And I love the book, by the way, that it's based on. The first film is closer to the book, but I loved Denzel's version. Just a great movie.
We should do that.
Oh, we will eventually. It's on my list of movies to do on Saturday because it's not military, so I'll do it on a Saturday. But I just got to tell you, I love that film and that general attitude that because even in that movie, he killed us. Well, he didn't murder his father. He gave him a gun with one bullet. Do the right thing. Don't make me do it.
Oh, did I tell? I don't know if I told you. I live very close to those two locations of that movie. The pool in which the little girl competes, and the elevated pass when you see the father carrying the ransom money.
Oh, the overpass. Yeah.
Yes. In fact,
that overpass is used again in the bomb up the butt scene.
No, that is another. That's
a different one. Oh, I thought it was the same one. So, but anyway, anything else, Keith, you want to say before we go?
I think I'm good.
Martin ends it. All right. I think everybody's sick of us right now. We're going to go away.
Just as we were getting started on the dirty jokes. Well,
there's so many good shows on right now. What's that?
There are a lot of good shows. There are a lot of good shows.
Friday Night Tights and then Friday Night Frolics going on. Go enjoy yourself some of that shit. We're going to go do something else. I need to eat something. I'm hungry. You coming over? Am I going to see you tonight?
At this moment, I am going to...
Keith. Talking to Keith.
Sorry. I don't know. It depends on several factors, home factors. But, who knows?
It'd be nice to see you. It'd be nice to see you. I could use a little Keith in my life right now.
I think everybody could use a little.
Chinachi, we're not doing an after show. We're ending the show.
Yeah.
Leaving.
Let me at least say this. For those of you that are going on Netflix, Blue-Eyed Samurai. I highly recommend that. But remember this. It is not for kids. Do not.
Oh yeah, no.
I don't care if you're used to watching stuff with your kids. You cannot watch this with your kids. This is.
How about your adult kids?
Maybe. But 8 episodes. It goes to man. Have a good one.
Everybody have a good Friday. See you tomorrow for Saturday Fun Time. We're going to be talking about the movie Battleship. A much misunderstood sci-fi film that should be a classic. I love that.
By Peter Berg. And also tomorrow is Geekmas. So.
Oh yeah, Geekmas. I guess I'm not going. I didn't get an invitation, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, if you wanted to go, you can go with me. You can be my plus one.
Tim, how do you know that?
I don't know, man. Once you've done Keith, you never go.
Wow.
Because it means once you go black, you never go back. T-bone. Bush just shared a picture of a T-bone.
Oh,
I'm going to put a little fire symbol under it because it's grilled.
Ooh.
All right, guys. Play the outro. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Ah!